Yes.
Congo, 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 you have known many names. Kingdom of Congo, Congo, Free State, Belgium, Congo, Zaire, DRC. Congo, when will the world allow you to determine your fate? Peace from your plate, Leopold Mobutu Kabila. TI took the life of Lumumba, replaced a man with a feet. Look at them feast on your flesh, vultures they circle, drawing the strength from your breath. 6 million dead in a war, yet no one knows, the whole world ignoring your pain. Then we gather in churches and dare to sing never again. Do they acknowledge your past, locked in museums, burning their records of gift? That man whose breathed embodied, that man who killed Leopold of Belgium. I spit out his name and spit on his grave for those who have no grave and those who have no one to breathe. He spat on the face of our race, he spat on the face of humanity. In statues, they'll take center place in the walls of your city. Brussels, the city of the severed hands, the waste of so much for so little, the stealing of lives, the dying potential. Never set foot on your mountains and plains, and your mountains and plains, and your rivers and fields, and they still find their ways to take from you. thus their support from Ubuntu. Cold War was useful. Thieves yet again. Congo a business. Congo a scam. You filled your pockets and ran. Inside our pockets, coltan. Pieces of Congo. Congo, 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 you have known many names. Kingdom of Congo, Congo, free state. Belgium, Congo, DRC. Congo, when will the world allow you to determine your fate? Peace from you. Leopold, Mobutu, Kabila. I'm a Pan-African, but I ain't a hope-tech, go-step in line with Pan-African gold. Souls aligned by oppression. The Pan-African pie was split up before the Pan-African eye could see itself. They sliced the Pan-African cake before it baked. No ingredients mixed, no homogeneous bits and bobs lumped together, stolen chocolate chips to feed the greed, souls, the pits of the stomach. Filled their faces with our spirits till it runs down the lips of only elites. Under the guns at the hips, the Leopolds, the Rhodes, the Clintons, the Trumps, till all that's left is a couple of crumbs, yum, 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 yum. But they don't know the crumbs are actually seeds, sesames, and seeds grow into trees, and trees blossom. Their deforestation and the change of the weather can't weather our souls. They tether our flows with their chemicals where they once tethered our fruits with their chains. Their belief systems tether our brains on the continent. What is a continent? Belief systems tether our brains on the continent. Europe is a cultural creation, separated from the other peninsula of the Asian continent we know. Nothing geographical to separate, not large outside Mercator, no plate like the subcontinent of India though. Africa is a geographical entity, meant to be huge, mostly water on each side with 2,000 languages, more linguistic diversity than 30 Europes. The convention is a sham. Forget your geography, man. European is synonymous with white. I'm a Pan-African, but I ain't a hope that's reducing Africa to the sheep, peas, and sun. Ethnocentric to the left of the Suez Canal, and great bitterness to the oppressed on its right side. You on the right side of history, not how will they judge you. They see their killers as saints, and you on the right side of truth in the now, because if you're not, then you're complicitly paying. What is an African? Let's do the maths again. The African Americans, after they were captured, the mass and made them worthless. Their masters were European on American earth. Is that an African? A mestizo with both, but he's black again. The line is blurred. It's worth questioning all the facts again. If I choose my identity like putting on a mask, and then is choice even an element? Well, and what if I'm black and I'm pretty and it's messy? Separate the facts, and that is how you unify, to deny, to divide and rule. Question school. History is written by the victors, so is geography. Hypocrisy is rife in this life, as is ignorance. In the age where the skies hold our secrets, our bias keeps us chained to the ground. Confirmation, and yet the survival continues. And survival continues today in the hearts and the mind and the blood and the sinews of Dinkas and Twas, the Jamaicans and Haitians, Saharians and those in the States. And the fate of the African belongs to the African. Thank you. I'm Femi, by the way.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Femi line up there, everybody. Femi has been coming to Uppity almost from day one. He's an Uppity founding father, like so many of us around here. But over the last few months, every time he wanted to ask a question or say something, he just insisted on singing. And to reach the point where I thought to myself, okay, let me give this guy a stage to sing and see if he can really do it. And I didn't expect that in the slightest bit, and he blew us all away. I think that's fair to say. So ladies and gentlemen, Femi, I don't know what to say. All right, let's get to it. Uppity, this is the season finale. This is pretty much where we depart for a little bit, and we'll be back as the weather gets a little bit colder, and I'm no longer hiding in Miami or anywhere else, and so I feel like talking about race and other bits and bobs again. Thank you so much once again, ladies and gentlemen. This is an amazing gathering, historic gathering tonight. We are going to call this Uppity the Rishi Sunak Memorial Uppity. I'm going to do this in the truest way possible. We're gathered in a room, so many of us. This is a black and brown, this is a diverse room, of course. This is a very, very diverse room, it's very welcoming. But we have our rituals that we abide by here. So if you haven't been here before, And those who have been here before will inform you how things go. So, this is a very interactive room. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your voice. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear your intellect. We want to hear your debauchery. We want to hear everything from you, absolutely everything. But there's 3 magical words. I just have to count down the words that were in my head, so my economics degree doesn't go too well. But there's 3 magical words you must state if you wish to speak. And if you've been to Uppity before, after 3, can we state those words to everybody? 1, 2, 3.
I'm sorry, can we check, because it's got wishes, so we need to say point of brownness.
We're sticking with points of This is not a democracy. This is a dictatorship. With me at the helm. There we go. I don't bring my leopard skin hat out. Right? So, look, I do get it completely. There's a point of blackness. There we go. It's the election special of Uppity. It's a special night. We are going to go into quite a lot. We're going to speak about. We're going to have a hustings here, a black and brown hustings. So there's something waving at the back there. Are you waving at me? Or are you just waving? Okay. All right, fair enough. Okay, I think someone's trying to capture my attention. Later. All right, anyway, so we're going to, there's quite a lot we need to get through tonight, which is a beautiful thing. But as always, we've got a group of melanated people in the room. You have to get the melanin warmed up a little bit. You just have to warm up the melanin. You can't just dive straight into things. This is Britain. You have to warm up the melanin. So we're going to do that together right now. Are you ready to warm up the melanin? Even those who are not, sorry, about the point of blackness, we don't care what color, what the point of blackness is a point of blackness. You are welcome in this room. This is a very, very diverse room, but it's a black room at the same time too. But we're going to warm up the melanin. Those of us who might be lacking in that department, you're also very, very super duper welcome as always too. So we're going to do some things. I'm going to call this warm up the Surviving Britain version of the melanin warm up. Are we ready for this? Are we ready? So I'm aiming this principally. First question is aimed principally at the ethnics in here. The first question is this. It's a very tough question, guys. Pay attention. Spell the name Neve. Did anybody say N-E-E-V-E in here or so? Because if so, we are reporting to Suella and James Cleverly, and you're going back to wherever the heck you came from. All right, question number 2. Let's get it. Question number 2. You're hanging over a cliff, and then you look up, and you see Kemi Badenoch and David Lammy both offering you their hands to save your life. Do you A, accept Lammy's hand? Do you B, accept Kemi's hand?
B.
Or do you C? Thank you, LB. Do you C, accept that you're pretty much dead and prepared to haunt both of them for eternity? What are we going with? C. We're going with C. Okay. All right. Question number 3. This is a very crazy question that just makes no sense whatsoever in the real world. Because this sort of thing would never ever happen in the real world. It really wouldn't. Question number 3. A cow has broken loose from the farm and is roaming the streets. The police see fit to ram the cow with a car that weighs about 4 or 5 times the size of the cow does, or the weight of the cow does. They injure it critically. They don't kill it. Interesting stuff there. Which means the cow is still alive for you to eat on a Sunday. But more importantly, you get to work the following morning and your white boss wants to talk about it. And your white boss is quite upset that a cow was rammed by a car. So your white boss is going off about it. How do you respond to his comments? Do you A, let your blackness out the bag and say, bitch, please? The police treat black and brown people way worse than this every day of the week. Leave me alone. Do you B, you sprinkle a little whiteness onto your voice? Break down a little bit, shed a few tears. Just let a couple run out just a tiny bit. Just a few tears here and there. And he just says something like, hey, cow lives do matter. And I'm establishing the cow lives matter function within our department. Or do you see, there is no C. It's either A or B. In fact, A, which is triple your blackness, actually is C. It's see yourself out of the office for good. And completely unrelated to the last question, true or false? I'm going to come, I'm going to wrap this up pretty quickly, I know what we're here for. True or false? A memorial was established to animals who fought in World War II before a memorial was established for black and brown people who fought in World War II. Does anybody say false? Does anybody believe in Britain enough to say false? But sorry, there's a yeah, Albert, you're a founding father here, so what's the term? What's the term, Albert?
Point of brownness, because I think Lorinda was right.
It's not a dictatorship, it's not democracy, Albert, but please,
I'll take over the country now, if you like. Wouldn't the black and brown people have been commemorated in the war memorials that memorialise everyone?
No.
I just
So if you go to Paris, for example...
No, I'm talking about the British one.
No, but it's just that white supremacy cuts across borders.
No, I'm sorry.
Yep.
The war memorials that were erected after the war were to commemorate all the soldiers that fought in the world wars were they not?
I'm not convinced they were.
I think they were.
Because Albie, even in the films they made...
Thank you, I just wanted to make that point.
Please, your point taken, point of blackness taken, but even in the films they made or so, and the monuments put up, they didn't reflect us in the slightest bit. In fact, if you grew up in my age, you wouldn't actually have known that black and brown people fought in the war. You really wouldn't have. You would have thought that you would even know that Russians even fought in the war. In fact, you would have thought that Russians were the Nazis. Yeah, so no, hold on. I went to school. Sorry, this is a room full of black and brown people. Were you informed, educated that if you're above, say,
Russians?
Churchill won the war single-handedly.
Single-handedly. If you're above, say, 35. I'm not going to stand up, let me shake your blessing. Do you think, were you educated to know that black and brown people fought in the war? You were not.
You said Russians.
No, but even the Russians too, if you grew up in the 80s, that would be Rambo age, all that sort of stuff or so, you thought the Russians were anyway, but let's keep going, anyway. Let's keep going, because we've got to get to the bottom of this really, really quickly, because we've got to get to this hustings really, truly quickly. Alright, I think I've got my last couple of questions. David Lammy. It's so cheap, it's so easy. It's so easy when you just say David Lammy. It's such an easy, in a black room, you just say David Lammy, it's just like you've already got the audience. David Lammy. He's been an MP for Tottenham since the year 2000, since I was a teenager. Aging myself a bit. He recently shot a video outside Broadwater Farm Estate, where he actually grew up. And I've been in a situation before where David Lammy shoved me once, where I thought that made him about to get violent. So David Lammy really is from Broadwater Farm. Trust me, that guy he's from the street, he's not playing. Trust me, I've been there. So I've been there just for a couple of moments, and I had to check myself and run away. But he shot a video outside Broadwater Farm Estate. It's a typical political video. I'm a boy from the hood who's done well for myself, that sort of stuff, blah, blah, blah. You know, right? He's trying to get re-elected, and he's going to get re-elected. We know that. My question is, if we look about over the last 20-something years that David Lammy's been in power, when you think in terms of black and brown people, has he, look at what he's done more of, has he helped more black and brown people get out of the hood, or has he helped more black and brown people get into their coffins? What do you think is the question, the answer to that? It's a tough question, isn't it?
He's helped himself out.
It's helped. How many people do you think David Lammy's helped out?
He's helped himself out.
But how many black and brown? If you grew up around my age, there was not a war that David Lammy did not vote for. There was not one. He voted for everyone, and then he voted against the investigations into the war too. So yeah, so those wars.
Dying is getting out of the hood.
Pardon?
Dying is getting out of the hood.
Dying is getting out of the hood, but no, he weren't killing people in the hood. Thank God for that. But other than that, we would have had it ever since. All right, final question. We're going to move on. That seems to, you guys want a bit preachy on yours. You guys seem to like David Lammy. Anyway, true or false? This is the final one. Then we can get to the more meet and greet of the evening. True or false, ladies and gentlemen? I think your melanin's a bit warm right now, isn't it, guys? Is your melanin warm? Yes. Is your melanin warm? Yes. I'm going to give the microphone to somebody. I'm not going to do that. All right, our melanin's warm. True or false? Final question. The head of the International Slavery Museum was awarded and accepted an OBE, an Order of the British Empire, meaning somebody who walks every single day and sees the outcome of the British Empire, so the brutality and everything else on the walls, in statue, whatever else. I've never been to the International Labour Meeting. Did said person accept an OBE or not? True or false?
Yes.
I'm afraid to say, welcome to Britain. It is true. We do some very strange things here, and we'll do some very strange things tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Uppity. This is Intellectual Playground. Thank you so much. Thank you. Welcome to Uppity. This is an intellectual playground, the home of free speech, the home of blackness, of brownness, of beautiful people, of everybody, of all shades, all kinds of characters, and we unite around those three poignant words: point of blackness. If you have something to say, we are delighted tonight to welcome an absolutely brilliant journalist who's going to chair our, we've got many brilliant journalists here, not just you just yet, there's many of you, but yeah, but there's another one first before we get to you. But yeah, who's going to chair, not only chair journalists, actually Yoruba royalty, dare I say too. So yeah, so she's British Yoruba royalty, which she is now anyway, because I said so. But, and she's going to chair our black and brown hustings. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands and your hearts together for the MCA Bingo Cake.
Nelson's overselling it a bit. I just work where I work. It's not special. So thank you so much for coming this evening. I am Lindsay Adeoke. I'm going to host the Black and Brown Hustings debates that we've got today, and the theme of the debate is prosperity and protection of whether we like it or not, in the next 2 weeks we'll have a new Prime Minister, and just wanted to remind you that if you haven't registered to vote, you can still do that until 11:59 p.m. today. So harass your loved ones, your friends, make sure that everybody registers. Today we are going to be joined by 4 representatives of different political parties, and they're going to stand up shortly and introduce themselves and give their opening statements. During the opening statements, no interruptions, no points of blackness until they've finished. We're going to start by swearing these reps in. If you wouldn't mind stepping forward, Halima Khan, who is the candidate for Stratford and Bow for the Workers' Party. Give her a round of applause. Now, did you bring your book?
It's in the green room. I popped up for a cigarette and then I just lost my seat.
Okay,
so.
no worries. If you want to grab that, I'll swear someone else in
Perfect.
first.
I'll give you that.
Oh, you don't have a book either?
No,
No, so did you not expect the book?
I did.
Okay. Your book is also there. Do you want to go and grab the book? Do you want to grab your book?
Yeah, they can name the book, so yeah.
You sure?
Yeah, let's just
But it needs to be like a physical story. Sorry, I'm a rule keeper. Sorry. Who else is here? Albie.
Yeah, that's good.
Do you have your book?
I've got a digital.
Okay, that's good enough. Okay. So, Albie, if you can just introduce yourself and the book you will be swearing on.
The microphone's on. You all heard my voice already. Good to see you all again. Hope you're all well. So I'm Albie Amankona. I'm the co-founder of Conservatives Against Racism. I also present a show on GB News. Femi has actually debated me before. We had great fun. I really enjoyed it. I know he did as well. And I also work for an investment research company, and I work for all the major broadcasters, Mo Sangeeta, Narinja, and some other people in this audience as well. So it's nice to see you all.
What's the book?
The book is a digital edition of Ghosts of Empire by Kwasi Kwarteng.
And why?
It's actually a very good Empire book.
And why did you choose that particular book?
I chose this particular book because I studied African history when I was at university. It is a passion of mine. And it's something funny, sorry. It's something funny?
Sorry guys, if
Something
you
funny?
just let him finish.
I'm just finishing. It's actually a passion of mine, African history, and I thought this was a particularly informative book on the Ghosts of Empire, which is actually quite balanced. I think if people read it, they would learn quite a lot.
Like the budget.
Okay.
It is a book, not the budget.
Okay, so if you could, well, you're holding it, so
Yes.
if you could just take the oath, do you swear to tell the truth, the black truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear to tell the truth, the black truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Who's got that? Next up we have Antoinette Fernandez from the Green Party. She's the candidate for Hackney North and Stoke Newington.
Hi, hello, Antoinette, as she said. I'm going to cut straight to the chase. I've got 2 books, because I'm a bookworm and I couldn't just pick one. The first one I'm going to talk about is my mother's book, A Legacy of Honour, which is about Lagos, pre-slavery, colonial, and so on, and also our family, because we were very integral to Lagos and dealing with the British. So there's that. And then also The Player of Games by Ian M. Banks, which is a sci-fi. And it's the first novel of his that introduces the culture, which is a civilization where humans live in harmony with AI. So there you go.
Thank you so much. So, just quickly after me, do you swear to tell the truth, the black truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing, no, and the black truth, oops, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you so
much. Does
much.
that count?
Yep, it does. It does.
Hi. So I'm here holding the holy book, the Quran, because as Malcolm X inspired me in politics, the Quran inspired his leadership, and my fear in God was what inspired me to whistleblow against the establishment, and that is why I'm here today. And I swear to tell the truth, the black truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you so much. Awesome. So now everyone is sworn in. We're going to start with opening statements. We're going to continue in the order that we started with. So Albie, you've got 3 minutes to make your opening statement. Please, no interruptions as he's speaking until the end.
We'll ring the bell when it's finished.
Oh, okay. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. We've got one more person. Sorry, that's my fault. Harriet Williams. She's representing the Women's Equality Party, prospective candidate for Golding and Ash. I'm so sorry, Harriet. Can you tell us what the book is and what?
So this is Maya Angelou, Complete Poetry, and I just love Maya Angelou. I saw that.
Okay, amazing. So just repeat after me. Do you swear to tell the truth, the black truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear to tell the truth, the black truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you so much. And Harriet, since you're there, do you want to start with your opening statement? You're already there? So, 3 minutes. Nelson, are you timing? Great.
Alright, so bear with me. So this is my first time doing one of these. So good evening everyone. Thank you so much for having me speak at one of these events. A huge appreciation to Nels for inviting me when you did. So as mentioned, I'm Harriet Williams. I am a Black British 3rd generation migrant. I'm a disabled single mum. I'm juggling life with a chronic condition, neurodiversity, while raising my awesome but very challenging teenage daughter. Wish me luck, please. Outside of being a mum, I love DIY, I love nail art, I like indulging in... Oh, am I sitting down? Okay, sweet.
Thank you for doing it, Scott.
Yeah, I like indulging in holistic care and exploring, to be fair, anything health and well-being is my bag. So professionally, I work independently as a young parent consultant, and I offer public speaking, research and content writing services, and that's particularly around related to young parents 25 years and under. I'm also a member of the All Parliamentary Group on Single Parent Families with Gingerbread. I serve on London Borough Camden Violence Against Women and Girls boards, and I'm a school governor in the London secondary school. So I joined the Women's Equality Party in January 2022. I spoke as a panellist with our leader, Mandu Reid, in a conversation series. And we talked about the effects of COVID-19 on racial maternal health disparities and childcare issues. During this period, I also heard the tragic news of the murders of Biba Henry and Nicole Smallman. So they were the 2 sisters who later had their dead bodies shared by Metropolitan Police in images on WhatsApp groups. I joined thousands of Women Equality Party members and beyond in a march on the anniversaries of their death, from the park where they were murdered to New Scotland Yard. Then tragically, in 2023, we learned about 17-year-old arrested for the stabbing of 15-year-old Elaine Andam in Croydon. As a mother of a daughter who will soon be 13, this deeply resonated with me and fueled my decision to step up as deputy leader of the Women's Equality Party. I need to see an end to violence against women and girls, pushing for police reform, improving relationship and sex education in schools to tackle toxic masculinity, and an investment in childcare. This is also why I'm standing as a Women's Equality Party candidate. We need to see transformative policies, including investment in care. We need universal free childcare and a national social care system that's at a standard to the point of use, and an end to child poverty. We need to expand child benefit and stop the harmful two-child benefit cap immediately. Increase care. Oh, there we go. Is that my buzz?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Then have Albie, do you want to go up next? This is it. Your 3 minutes starts now.
Hello everyone, I'm the pantomime villain for this evening. I've even got the correct accent for it in all the American films. So look, I'm not going to defend the Conservative Party's record since the 2019 general election. There are not many Conservatives that will. It's been very disappointing what has happened, and what we are seeing at the moment is something which happens when mainstream political parties do not deliver on what they say they are going to deliver. I'm not a populist, I'm not anti-establishment, I don't support Nigel Farage. But the reason why the Reform Party and Nigel Farage is doing so well is because over the past 10, 20, 30 years, neither the Labour Party nor the Conservative Party has delivered on the things that the British people wanted. And on whatever side of politics you are on, everyone feels that way. So how do we change the situation? Probably by not voting in the government that's been in power for the last 14 years, you might say. Some might tend to agree with you, but what does that mean? What does it mean if we turn our backs on mainstream politics? A lot of you in this room don't like the Labour Party either. So then do we turn to a country of the Reform Party and the Workers' Party? Does that sound like a healthy, happy politics? Doesn't sound like a healthy, happy politics to me. But what needs to change is that the mainstream parties, like the Conservative Party, and I'll speak the Labour Party as well because they were too scared to come, I wasn't, is that the mainstream parties need to deliver what you, the public, want. And the simple fact of the matter is the mainstream parties haven't done that. The cost of living is far too high. There are some people, perhaps not people in this room, who think the tax burden is too high, who think immigration is too high. Perhaps not people in this room, but there are people nonetheless who have voted for things that the mainstream parties have not delivered, and it's time that changes. And that is why, whichever government leads this country after the 5th of July 2024, they have to start focusing on the people's priorities. We've got to get the cost of living down. That is the most important thing, I think, for all people, not just black and brown people, because most disparities come from a lack of prosperity and a lack of opportunity. Whether or not those are healthcare disparities, whether or not those are employment disparities, whether or not those are differences in family outcomes or in academic attainment. A lot of it, the root of a lot of disparity, is due to a lack of prosperity and opportunity, and that is the same whether or not you are white working class or whether or not you are black Caribbean. I don't think black and brown people need special policies. Black and brown people need the same opportunities as everyone else. They need to be able to keep more of their own money, whether or not that is from tax cuts or from the cost of living coming down. How can we bring the cost of living down? The biggest thing we can do is housing. Housing costs are too high. We bring housing costs down, you've got more money.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we have our first.
So that was great, Albie, but I'd like to ask, you talked a lot about, the governments need to deliver for people. But actually, I feel like people need educating, because some people in this room maybe don't have a problem with immigration. The people not in this room who do have a problem with immigration, it's through a lack of education. They're being fed lies. What we need is a government that will tell the truth to the people and not feed lies, and is a distraction to the real problems, because immigrants are not the problem in this country.
Just a quick response to what Albie said. Point of practice, yeah. That the mainstream parties since 2019 haven't delivered. Sorry, the only party that's been in power since 2019 are the Tories. The Conservatives haven't delivered. So don't try and cloud the whole conversation around mainstream parties. Call it what it is. The Tories have simply not delivered. Simple as that.
I'm confused because I thought the last time there was an election, the Tories said we'll get Brexit done, and you did. So you have delivered exactly what you promised, and it's led to an 8% reduction in the British GDP. So I'm confused because you guys promised last time that you would deliver Brexit, and that was the whole pitch. You've delivered Brexit, and this is where we are. So I'm very confused by your thing.
We have to move on because we're out of time.
Okay. Can we not give Albie an opportunity to respond? That is fair. In the spirit of balance, we have to allow him to respond. Just quickly.
It's going to be longer than 30 seconds, madam. If you don't like it, get over it. Right, so come to your first point. About the mainstream parties. I actually said over the last 10, 20, 30 years, and if you'll remember 30 years ago, it was Labour that was in government. And people in this country, Narinda, have voted for parties that would wanted to have said they would deliver lower immigration since 2005. The mainstream parties haven't done that. Immigration tripled under the last Conservative government. And people are unhappy, perhaps not people in this room, but people in the country are unhappy with the levels of migration, and they do not feel that it is sustainable. And I don't think it is right for you, Narinda Kaur, from Crouch End to sit here and say people outside London are uneducated, because they're not. There are members of my family. There are members of my family. Hold on, I'm not done. There are members of my family who would like there to be lower immigration. They are not uneducated. They just have a different point of view to you, and that's it. To come to a point about Brexit. Because I was responding to a point, sir. We have responses, question and answer.
We need to let the other candidates have
We can, but you wanted me to respond and I won't.
Yes, you will.
So I don't ask.
There's another debate. There's a debate happening after the opening statement, so you can point your questions there. Sorry, Antoinette.
Tough act to follow. Okay. Good evening, my name's Antoinette Oinconsola Adedamala Fernandez, Yoruba by blood, English by culture. Alongside being the parliamentary candidate at North East Newington, I've also stood as North East constituency candidate for the recent London Assembly elections and a councillor candidate in by-election that was also in May. I've always voted Green, aside from the one time I decided to vote for Jeremy, for the many, not the few, Corbyn. I grew up during Thatcher, so despite growing up around Conservatives, I became aware from an early age that she was clearly a wrong. I was dissuaded from Labour because, you're not going to like this, various people, including my house mistresses, were very clear that they wanted to destroy our way of life. Boarding school being a sanctuary for myself and many others, our families having direct comparisons with Game of Thrones and Succession. So boarding school was a safe space, our sanctuary, and anyone that wanted to come for that was no friend of mine. Obviously now I'm aware that teachers and non-fee paying schools need better funding to level the playing field and create equality in the quality of education and facilities that we provide children. So by the time I was old enough to vote, the Green Party seemed like the obvious choice. They were a double whammy of being concerned about saving the planet as well as a good protest vote. Life came along and tested and broke me, and I patched myself up, and it tested me again, and I decided to get involved with the Green Party because I wanted to find a way in which I could position myself to deal with the root causes of the barriers and issues I faced in trying to progress as a filmmaker and a writer and having a family of my own. The Green Party needs more diversity. It does, it's a fact, and the party is well aware of it and keen to improve. But the only way that can really happen is if people join, if people from minorities join. We are stronger together. And if you get involved, you won't be alone. In Hackney, you have me, and we also have the Greens of Colour, GOC. I have an issue with use of the word colour. Members are involved in policy making, so you can join groups like the Asylum and Migration Policy Working Group to directly affect the party's manifesto. It's as a result of our members that the party acknowledges that the Global South is on the front lines of global warming, despite barely contributing to it. The Greens are also clear on the need for police reform and removing police from schools. GOC, alongside other liberation groups and members, presented a motion at the 2020 Green Party conference for reparations, which members overwhelmingly voted in favour of. And as a result, the Green Party are the first major national party committed to seeking reparatory justice for the transatlantic trafficking of enslaved Africans. I'm on the Equality and Diversity Committee and an EDI officer. So once all the elections are over, thanks to the Tories, I will continue to work on ways to encourage more minority people to the party and ensure that it is a welcoming and supportive environment for us. Thank you.
And you did it in time too. And last but not least, Halima.
Thank you, everybody. First and foremost, I feel so fortunate to be able to speak to the public as somebody who worked inside the belly of the beast of the establishment in the Labour Party. Under the left and under the right, there's very few people that have come out publicly to whistleblow on the dangers of the establishment parties. Now, Albie quite rightly referenced the Workers' Party, and you know, it's no secret that it is a threat to the establishment. That's why Rishi Sunak had to give a 10 Downing Street announcement when George Galloway won his by-election, like he was announcing lockdown again. So I am here today because I stand on truth, and as people, we are so disillusioned, we don't know who to vote for because most politicians are liars. And in my experience within the Labour Party, they work by lying to the public and deceiving the public in order to get you to vote for them. The other thing that they thrive on is voter apathy. I was also somebody that was an apathetic voter until I started working inside the Labour Party with high security clearance to know that that's exactly what they want. They don't want black people to engage in politics. They do not want any ethnic minority to engage in politics. They want you to be forever victims for the white man to come and save you. Now, why I fell out with the party is because I refuse to be saved by anyone, because I want my people to be empowered to save themselves and fight for themselves. And because I fought for myself, I fell out with the entire left and right machine, right? And I am proud of that. I wear that as a badge of honor. So during my time in the Labour Party, why I became a big target inside and even in my campaign, they had more vote splitters in my seat than any other seat in the country. Now, where I fell out with them was that I proved the hierarchy of racism inside the Labour Party, where they only spoke and prioritised anti-Semitism over Islamophobia and anti-black racism. Now, what we need more than ever in a time of so much disillusion and so much disinformation is a politician whose only ticket is speaking truth to power, as I have already shown. that I have done, and I will continue to do it. Win or lose, I have a number of legal cases against the party, and they have a number of cases against me. And I will continue to fight them. And what they wanted was for me to back down because I couldn't fund my legal cases. But as a working class person, I had to lead by example and fight that case, representing myself without any legal background, so none of us bow down to bad bosses that keep their knee on our necks.
Okay, so we've heard from all 4 representatives, and now it's over to you. So if you have any questions, you know the rules, point of blackness, I can already see hands shooting up. Right.
Yabasi, should we bring our panelists back into the centre?
Do they just all have to stand? It feels a bit cruel. Do we have to stand the chairs?
Let them stand. They want to
Stand up. You want to represent, you're hustling for votes, so yeah, you should stand up. Yes? First question.
Yeah. I'm going to ask my question. I'm going to be a bit naughty because I got a bit nervous when I sang my song. I snuck off stage and I intended to sing my song with my little jumper on to some when I forgot to. So this is a book I wrote about migration, which is going to link to the question. This is a film I actually made with the BBC EAP a few years ago about French colonial history in Niger and West Africa. That's available on iPlayer called African Apocalypse, and this one is available on Amazon and an audiobook on my website. So if you want to check them out, ask me after the QR codes. But yeah, migration is key that we understand. When we talk about migration, we talk about the Reform Party, and we talk about all of the main parties, including the Labour Party, pandering more and more and more to this anti-migrant idea, this anti-migrant ticket. It's clear that we understand something. People generally don't want to come somewhere that's cold, that has bad food. They do it because the world is skewed. Why is the world skewed? Because of a history of colonial exploitation and a continuation of colonial exploitation that continues until this day. And this is something that young people are understanding more and more in politics, because they're seeing our country supporting little kids having their legs blown off. And they're seeing all the politicians from all the main parties wave and cheer and say it's fine to deprive people of food. And they're seeing, and so this is something that some people have known all the time, but when you talk to someone about structural adjustment loans, and you talk to them about the IMF and the World Bank, and you talk to them about complex economics, and how it's not true that African kids are poor and we need to give them charity. It's true that African kids are poor because of our economic policies and our relationships with them. It's difficult for people to understand.
We have
Sorry,
cool.
yeah.
Cool.
Is there a question?
But when you see a little kid with his legs blown off, it's very simple, and people are understanding that. And so politics in this country is becoming more international, and people are understanding that it's not just about the domestic. We have an influence in the world, and that's why people are migrating, because we're killing them and we're impoverishing them, unfortunately.
So, no question?
Yeah, the question is around that. The question is, what do the candidates have to say about the shift towards young people seeing more of the international sphere and our role internationally, and how that is affecting the way people are going to vote?
Thank you. Does anyone want to take that? Anyone want to take that?
So my point on Britain's role internationally would be that we need to have a strong defence in this country, and that's one of the reasons why I can't really take our friend from the Green Party, Antoinette, unfortunately, very seriously. Because the Green Party want to cancel the Trident nuclear deterrent, which is keeping us all safe in the United Kingdom, and Great Britain and Northern Ireland. We have Workers' Party candidates who talk about withdrawing from NATO. We have a whole host of non-mainstream parties in this country who, just quite frankly, don't understand international relations and the really quite dangerous position this country is, and the rest of the Western world, when we see what is going on in Russia and Ukraine, when we see the risk of a Chinese invasion over Taiwan, and but quite seriously, if you were telling me to shut up, but if that happens, that will impact our supply chains in such a serious way that it could raise goods costs for us here in the United Kingdom, because most of the semiconductors that go in our advanced technology come from Taiwan. If China invades Taiwan, the cost of living in the United Kingdom goes up, and the problems that I was talking about earlier on, the problems with the cost of living that we're all facing, get worse. So we have to have a more stable world, and that means having a stronger defence in the United Kingdom.
Okay, I know Habiba wanted to respond to that.
So, I grew up in the working class areas of Oxford, so I've met many posh boys like Albie that doesn't know what
I grew up in a council house.
Right.
I grew up in a council house. I would retract that statement.
Alright, fine.
Thank you.
Fine. But
Not that there's anything wrong with being posh, by the way.
there isn't, but I've met many people like you, and who speak at people like you, and I think you've come into a direct attack on the Workers' Party. Now, when we talk about the Conservative government and their plans for us, they want to conscript our children into war, into America's imperialist war. Now, I don't want my siblings or myself or anybody to fight another war. Now, when we go back to World War II, Winston Churchill, Tory Prime Minister, was the reason why there was a Bengal famine and my family survived famine. And with the Conservatives trying to conscript our children, who's going to be on the front lines? As we've learnt from World War I and II, it's going to be us and our children. So who do you speak for, Albie? Now, respectfully, I really respect you, Antoinette, but the Green Party talk about climate change, but they support NATO. Now, how does that marry up? Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any more? Antoinette, Harriet, do you want to respond to? You're contemplating.
The Green Party, I mean, the question was...
I know. Once she's done, I know he's very...
The question was about... What was the actual question again?
Exactly. How does the NATO...
My question was about what do you think of the shift towards an understanding of internationalism and colonialism in young people's voting patterns, especially young people?
Well, I think that's amazing, obviously. What other reaction is there to that? There's more education, people are aware. That's what we want. We want people to understand the importance of what... Have I got that wrong?
I guess, especially with...
Because he's saying that they...
I'm saying that a lot of the main parties aren't necessarily understanding, aren't necessarily shifting to that, and they're more interested in their lobbies than what these people think.
So if you're teaching in Gaza is okay, and then
Pass the microphone if they're speaking. Point to black, a grab a microphone, please.
Oh, I think what you're saying is that if kids in this country are being taught about killing kids in Gaza is okay, and this is how we defend our country, then how do we shift that balance of force for the future generation who will be voting? Because we're teaching them just an extension of colonialism. Is that what you were saying?
Yes, Gaza is one example, and we've seen people rising up about Sudan, about all these issues. And the UK is still involved in colonial enterprises all over the world, and it's something that the party can't hear you.
Okay, well, I think that obviously the Green Party is all for, definitely for encouraging young people to vote. So we definitely want them to vote for a party that is against all of that, right? I think a lot of young people are actually very aware of the fact that Gaza, what's going on in Gaza and the colonial ramifications are absolutely terrible. There's encampments in universities. I think, I've spoken to people in Hackney, a lot of young people in Hackney, and they are very well aware. So I don't think we need to worry about that. The children are okay, the youth are okay, the problem are the adults and the people in power.
Point of Brothers. Okay, very
Sorry,
quickly.
can I just ask that we keep the points succinct?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
The very first thing I want to say is this. The problem with politics in this country, we need to take all the private money out of politics. That's simple. Politicians are indebted to their backers first. First and foremost, they take decisions for their benefit. We are last in the pecking order. Secondly, to Albie, your point, stop rehashing the old Russia and China line. We need to start looking at these people in a different perspective. The biggest problem and the biggest threat to world peace is our ally, the USA.
Yes.
Top 5 manufacturers of weapons in the world are all the US. Number 6 is BAE Systems, okay? They're bringing the death and destruction on the planet. Like the Chinese, like the Russians. How many countries have Russia or China invaded in the last 20 years? I mean, start thinking differently, okay? It's old hat, mate, okay? That's simple, thank you.
No question.
Can I prioritise questions
Questions,
for the
please.
candidates? And then
We're making a statement.
is it a question? You can make points, but we're here to be questions.
Thank you. Point of blackness. Can I ask, Albie?
Where are you, sir?
I'm right over here.
Oh. Oh, hi.
Hi. Are you actually sanctioned by the Conservative Party to speak on behalf of the PAC?
No.
You're not? Okay, fine. So the question that I have
I'm here
is...
at my own cause.
Fair enough. The question that I have is, you seem to have an issue with any other party in the country apart from the main two. Do you believe that's democratic to say that there should only be two parties that are almost indistinguishable and therefore no one else should have a choice of any other way of thinking?
No, I'm just realistic that under the first past the post political system, the two parties that are going to form government in the United Kingdom are the Labour Party and the Conservative Party. And if we move to proportional representation, then that might change, but we've not done that yet. So the reason why I'm talking about Labour and Conservatives is because we're the parties that are going to be in government. The others, quite frankly, electorally, are pretty irrelevant. And those are just the facts of the matter.
What's the blackness? I'll just ask a really brief question, sorry.
It's the same.
Really succinct. Just thinking at the four of the panel right here, if you were not voting for, say, somebody else on the panel, if you couldn't vote for yourself and you couldn't vote for your party, which person and which party would you vote for based upon the 30 members panel?
Can we start with Harriet? We haven't heard from that.
So the question is, which party would I vote for
Other
if
than
it wasn't
yourself.
for Women's Equality Party?
Yes, on this based on the panel, yeah.
I think based on this panel, based on the conversations had, I'm just going to comment on smaller parties or other parties are irrelevant, and I think the issue that we're having with the parties that have been in rule for so and so years is the fact that they are, it's all around power, isn't it? They're power hungry, and I think the ones in which we don't hear from, I guess with Women's Equality Party, we're actually begging people to steal some of our policies, because I think the reality is, as long as we can make changes is the most important thing, as opposed to who can be the leader or whatever else is going on here. I think the closest to policies that we relate to are green.
As I said to the Women's Equality Party ladies in the green room, I love the idea. I believe that coalition governments are the future for us, and I think it would be a wonderful thing if we had a coalition government made up of the Green Party and the Women's Equality Party, and maybe like a couple of the workers.
Why don't you merge?
Sorry?
Why don't you merge into one power party?
Because it's good to have different. It's good to have different perspectives, right? We want to have more representation in Parliament. We want to have lots of people's voices and opinions represented, not just one, right? I think that's important.
So for me, unfortunately, as I'm standing here to speak the truth and only the truth and the black truth, I was a pathetic voter, and I only voted in 2019 because I didn't want to be a hypocrite, because I was telling everyone to vote Corbyn. Now, unfortunately, the reason why I never voted is because I never felt that any party represented me or my values. Now, if I wasn't voting for the Workers' Party, then I would vote an independent that is trying to change the status quo. Because what we are aiming for is a hung parliament, so neither side has a majority. And that is the goal that threatens my Conservative colleague that sat here, and that's why he wants to pretend like that's not a reality that's coming. Now, we're here to celebrate Rishi Sunak, his leader's memorial. Now, I'm the one candidate that will be reading the eulogy for Keir Starmer's memorial next election.
But she didn't answer the question. You had to pick from one of the parties.
No, I said that I said I wouldn't vote because that's actually how I've lived my life, not believing that any which party has represented any of my values.
Last but not least, Albie.
Yeah, I don't think people that don't vote really should complain about politics, to be honest. That's my point of view. That might be unpopular, but I think
it's
people...
classist.
I don't care. It's wrong not to vote. Okay?
Of course, the Tory would say they wouldn't complain
It's
about
wrong not to vote and then complain about politics.
Okay.
Right. If I wasn't voting for the Conservative Party at this general election, who would I vote for? Based on this panel, I'd probably vote for the Women's Equality Party, because who doesn't agree with women's equality? And I'm sure there are many policies that the Conservative Party should be actually taking on from the Women's Equality Party, particularly on violence against women and girls. So the Women's Equality Party.
Sorry, just to go back on that point, I just want to remind you all of the point that I made at the very beginning, that the establishment relies on voter apathy, and that's what I learned by
trying
working.
To stop people from voting.
I learned from working inside the establishment, and my honourable friend here has just proved the point.
Right,
I'm trying to stop people from voting.
We need to go back to the audience. Does anybody have? Oh my God. Okay. To the very energetic gentleman. Yeah, thanks.
Am I just speaking like this?
No, give me you need the microphone.
Pass it over there.
You want me to move here?
No, you just...
Okay, cool. Yeah, my main question was actually, mainly for Albie.
Pointed like this.
Pointed black. Is it pointed or point off? Sorry, it's my first idea. Point or black. So my first question is actually to Albie. So you mentioned earlier in your opening statement that you are someone who wants to support the prosperity of black and brown people, but your party consistently supports austerity politics, despite us having a sovereign currency. We've seen economists time and time again say that the actual way of us growing our economy and supporting those who are disadvantaged is to hire the taxes on the very wealthy. And your party continuously and consistently cuts the wealth, cuts the taxes on wealth and the taxes of the people who basically run this country and have the most wealth. So how do you deal with this conflict of ideologies in your head? You support the Conservative Party, which consistently cut taxes for the rich, but you want the prosperity of those who are consistently disadvantaged. That's my question to Albie. And to the general panel, I want to ask what your opinion is on wealth taxes in general.
Thank you.
Shock horror, I don't support wealth taxes, but what I will say is that actually under George Osborne and David Cameron, they lifted more people out of tax by increasing their personal allowance than any other government in history. And I don't think we've gone far enough in lowering the cost of living in this country, not just through tax cuts, but through supply-side reforms that are going to increase the flow of goods in the economy, reduce inflation, and cut the cost of living. We can't keep having this conversation about perpetual... Hang on, sir, I'm going to finish my point. And you can ask again if you like. We can talk afterwards, maybe. We can't keep going on in this perpetual cycle where public spending is rising faster than the economy is growing. That is what is happening at the moment. And if we do not get the economy growing, we will not be able to sustain the public services that we have. So the reason why austerity happened, and is more likely to happen in the future, is because the current economic path that we're on, i.e. low growth and increasing public spending, forces the Exchequer to cut public spending even if taxes continue to go up and up and up. We need to improve our economic growth, and then we will improve the cost of living in the country.
Okay, thank you. Very quickly, because Nelson is shouting at me and giving me dirty looks, so we don't have that much time to go. Just very quickly, the panel wealth tax, where do you stand on it before we move on? Antoinette?
Why me? Okay, I was about to just read from the manifesto, which I just got in the mail. Green Party manifesto, check it out. We are all about taxing the wealthy, the 1%. I think that, Gary's economics, all these people are supporting our economic policies and our manifesto, and it was again about taxing the rich. That's what we would do. I can go into more detail. Come talk to me afterwards. I've got the manifesto. There you go. Thank you.
Agree. Let's take children out of poverty.
Yeah, that no Workers' Party is aligned on that message. So it's kind of funny for
anything on economic growth, anyone?
It's funny that the man who's led by a banker has the cheek to tell us that we should not tax the wealthy.
I'm just asking anything about economic growth.
I think we're allowed to take like maybe 3. I'm going to prioritise women because we haven't heard from enough women over here.
Point of blackness. My first ever one. I'll be absolutely agree with you. Without generating national income, the only option is to tax, and that's not necessarily that has both benefits and costs to it. But the Conservative Party, of course, has had since 2016 plenty of opportunity post-Brexit to grow the economy, but it hasn't. The economy has in fact shrunk. Businesses, because of friction caused by going in alone, is now paying millions and millions of pounds under its public income. We've seen businesses folding. We've seen flatlining economic growth. It's anemic is not the way to describe it, it's more than 6 foot under. So actually, why should anybody vote Conservative when you've had years and years and years to spur on economic growth through the disaster of Brexit and it just hasn't happened?
There's a woman at the back. Oh, yeah. Nelson, you're not paying me to be like running the microphone.
Hi, I just kind of wanted to ask about the supply side economics. Sorry, point of blackness. If you could expand on that, because I strongly feel that one of the things that Conservatives have not done when they talk about the opportunities of Brexit in terms of allowing cheaper supply of goods and services in our country will result in us mirroring economies that people do not want to live in. No healthcare, no guarantee in terms of housing, no backup in terms of social care if things go wrong. If you could expand on what that really means, it would be really helpful, because it's one thing I get tired of hearing about, and anyone who's done economics and finance knows exactly what that means in terms of our standard of living in this country.
Thank you. Anyone?
The gentleman next to you.
Point of blackness. Yeah, I mean, I'm also reticent to just be throwing questions at you, Arby, because there's 3 other great panellists and candidates on the panel here as well. But I will make a point around the economic justice side of things. I mean, there's been a multitude of reports and just data that will show that trickle-down economics does not work. So trying to keep the current system which we have and which we hold the wealth or the resources with the wealthy in the hope that it's trickle down. I'm right here, my friend.
No, I mean, I didn't say trickle down economics.
Yes, but in regards to not taxing the wealthy and keeping the wealth hoarded at the top, then it's a hope that it will trickle down to the rest of society, and that just doesn't happen. But my actual question was, we're living in a sort of an age of multiple crises right now globally, whether it's the global crises of climate, cost of living crisis, the global crisis of inequality, which, as we know, disproportionately affects people of colour across the world and the most marginalised communities. And within the UK, we've got our own public crises, whether it's housing, our own cost of living, inequality, crisis of NHS, which again, all disproportionately affect black and brown communities. So I guess my question to all candidates is, how does your party look to show and display the interconnected nature of these multiple crises that are all related to our economic justice issues, and which of these do you think is most important for your black and brown communities to be prioritising as you potentially would move forward into a new government?
Okay, we're going to have the panel respond. We've got one back there, and then Nelson is actually going to beat me up if I don't wrap this up.
Respond away.
I think the ladies should go first.
Yeah, I do too. I like it.
Thank you. So, So, as a Workers' Party candidate, all working class struggles are interconnected and it comes in multifaceted ways. Now, when we talk about poverty and, one thing that no national party is talking about is what happened after the general elections of 2019, and it was the pandemic, which disproportionately impacted black and brown people, and nobody was held to account. Now, where there's so many disparities in economics, in health, in wealth, in housing, I will be the one candidate that will continue to fight for justice, as I am continuing to fight for justice against the machines that have created these problems. Now, if we look at most of our councils are Labour councils. Now, they handle the money. And then if our government's been Tories, they are both liable for all of the issues that we've struggled as a community, as a society. So in terms of, disparities in health, economics, and housing and crime, it's interconnected and it disproportionately impacts the working class. And that's the working class white areas in the north, as well as the working class areas which are more ethnically diverse. And that's why we are the true Workers' Party that recognises that it's a class struggle that we're fighting.
Thank you so much, Halima. Just quickly,
really quickly, the Green Party is very clear that these are all intersectional issues, and we have policies to deal with all of those. We are all about protecting the NHS, investing in the NHS. We're also about rent control, rent caps, rent reductions, and ensuring that, for me particularly, Hackney Council, Labour-run council, has a loophole that allows developers to only build new developments with no social housing and no affordable homes, right? So I would definitely lobby the council to make sure that is not the case any longer. Trying to be really quick. Yes, it's all intersectional, and they all need to be invested in and protected, nationalising energy, and so on. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it might be somewhat obvious what the Equality Party are going to say, like we are women, we're fighting for the equality of women, so there is a lot of intersection there, particularly when we're talking about housing, health, childcare affects women, but disproportionately affects black and brown women in particular. So in regards to the question on intersectionality, we work in intersectionality. Everything about what we do is intersectional.
Okay, and Albie, and then we've got one more point of blackness.
I think it's microphone, yeah.
So, Gita, first point on Brexit, do you know whether or not the Eurozone has outgrown the UK? Yes or no?
I don't have that now, but I do know that it's
the answer is, it has not.
Give her the mic. Well, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because actually, the way you cut those figures is disingenuous.
Has the Eurozone grown faster or slower than the UK?
It doesn't matter. And the question.
Has the Eurozone grown faster or slower than the UK?
As I understand it, the figure that you're going to use.
Gosh, Apple's got no manners tonight. Stop shouting at me. Be polite.
So I've heard this.
No name calling, please. Let's keep it civil.
I've heard this on GB News several times over, and as I understand it, literate economists say that actually the Eurozone has recovered post-pandemic more successfully and in a more sustained way. Where I will concede to you is that the UK recovered faster. In other words, Rishi Sunak's tick was correct, but that's because our economy had tanked even further than the Eurozone.
So you disprove that the UK has grown faster than the Eurozone since the pandemic, which it has. But so we'll just leave that there. Look, we'll just leave that there. Look, the root to the UK's current problems, I know lots of you want to think it's Brexit, but it's not Brexit. It's not a very sexy thing.
It's not immigrants.
No, and it's not immigrants either. It's not immigrants. It is the planning regulations that we have in this country. It is not sexy at all. But I would encourage you all to look up something called the housing theory of everything. And if we actually look at a lot of the social problems that we have in this country, a lot of the economic problems that we have in this country, about 50% of citizens' incomes is spent on housing costs, and housing costs are so high, it's because we've not been able to build houses in line with demand, which means you're spending more money on rent and mortgages than you need to do, and you don't have as much money to save. Look up the housing theory of everything. It is the cause of a lot of our problems in this country.
All right, thank you, Albie. There's still time to talk to the panelists
Look it up,
afterwards. So, there's an opportunity to speak to the panelists after the event is over. At the moment, we need to rush through because we still have a lot to get on with tonight. We've got one more point of blackness, then I'm going to ask the panelists in one sentence. I'm going to repeat myself, one sentence, to let us know why we should vote for your party. And that's where we're going to end. So, the last point of blackness, please.
Good evening.
Okay, we have a ritual.
Point of blackness.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you going to rise to your feet too? Yes, that would be great. So, yep.
So if you look in the world where you see black and brown people actually exercising power, where I was born in the United States, you see women taking people like Donald Trump down in the courts in New York. You see black women taking people like Donald Trump down in the courts in Georgia. You see people like Shirley Chisholm saying she was going to run for president in the 1970s when I was a young person, and we all believed her. We thought she could do it. And so access to real power only comes through proportional representation, because all of the black politicians you see in America, apart from the odd senator like Obama, who was part of the system that Halima talks about, he was not someone who was fighting for change. He didn't bring about change that he could have brought about when he was in power. All the changes that American people of ethnic minorities actually experience comes through the House of Representatives. So I'd like to know what your position is on proportional representation, because it's all fine and good saying, no, we're not going to form, we're not going to group together and fight together. We all need to have different voices and so on. But you won't get any power that way. So what's your position on proportional representation if, as black and brown people, you actually do want power and you're going to go for it?
Thank you. 30 seconds each, please. Can you do it in 30 seconds?
The Green Party is all about proportional representation. We're also about working cross-party because we are here for the people. We're not about power. We're here about making sure that we represent the people. Thank you very much.
Nice. That was succinct.
Yeah, I think I said a similar thing already, where we're not here fighting for power. I think it is important to get equality, and I think there needs to be it is important to hearing different voices. So, yeah.
Halima?
Absolutely for proportional representation. We don't need 30 seconds to admit that. Maybe Albie might need a bit more than 30 seconds to defend his point.
If we have proportional representation, Nigel Farage will be Prime Minister. So no, I'm not in favour. I'm not in favour of proportional representation. If we look at the two closest countries with PR, France, Marine Le Pen is about to be the president of France because of proportional representation, and Giorgia Meloni is the president in Italy because of proportional representation. So what I would say is that proportional representation makes it more likely populist parties will be in power.
Thank you so much. Can everyone please give a round of applause to the panel? Questions once the event is over, and now I'm going to hand back over to Nelson before he throws me out.
Right, thank you so much. Thank you. Round of applause again for our panel. And can we get these moved out of the way, please, guys? Can we get some assistance, please, to move these chairs out of the way? Where's the brother who's stealing while I got it? White t-shirt, come move some of these seats out of the way. Come earn your money. White t-shirt, come move some of these seats out of the way over here. Yeah. So thank you so much to our panel. Thank you. Round of applause to our brother over here. This is the guy. We don't know this guy from Adam. We still know the black content. There we go. Here you go, brother. Thank you very much. There you go. Thank you. We're back. We're not pulling it. We're making could work for his money. There we go. Right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. We've heard from everyone. I just want to say one thing. I would like to say one thing quickly. Can we just have a moment of quick silence, right? So, we founded this organisation, Uppity, about 9 months ago. So when the organisation was founded, a child that was in conception was born. This has been born now, effectively. And it was, I call it an intellectual playground, and keeping it real, most people in this room still don't know what that means. Even I don't even know what that means, effectively. But I didn't know Albie from Adam. I didn't know Albie from Adam also, but we've exchanged our dishes on Twitter quite extensively. Nevertheless, the first time I'd ever spoken to Albie or sent him a message or so, it didn't take much of a sentence. He immediately came here and said, do you need me to get involved? And I said, yes, and he was there from day one. And he's been here every single day. So I just want to be very, very clear that look, a lot of us might disagree with Albie, but we Hold on, let me finish. Let me land, shortly. I'll come back.
It's a condescending delivery, please.
Okay. Where's No, sorry. We're not going to say F Albie. The Labour Party, hold on. The Labour Party, okay, can we go back into the room? I just want to say this. Thank you. I just want to say thank you so much. Because Albie comes here, he knows that people probably disagree strongly with him. And he knows that sometimes he might get called names and get harsh reactions. But at the same time, I just want to say that it's okay. All right, we're going to move on very, very swiftly. Albie, thank you very much appreciated. And thank you very much for the panel, much appreciated. It has never felt hotter up here. I don't know how you do it, Albie, but boy, it felt hot just defending you for a moment there. But anyway, let's crack on with this night. So we're here right now in a very critical moment. Can we change our slide, please? And I really wish if somebody could cue up Crossroads by Blazing Squad for me, if that's okay, possible. So, in fact, don't touch the Crossroads by Blazing Squad, it's not necessary, it's a horrible song. So, but we are here at a critical moment in our history as black and brown people, as British people, that if you read Malcolm X's autobiography, it's probably the most important book anybody could ever read in their lives, particularly if you're a black or brown person. Particularly if you're a black person, I swear on that. If you read that book, it's such a transformation of a person. But there's one moment in the book where he said about his parents would go to these UNIA meetings, which is I've forgotten the actual acronym, shit, forgive me, Kayleigh Andrews. And he said that their parents and all these people, these black people, would be very, very jovial and very, very boisterous outside. But the moment they got behind the closed doors of those meetings, they were very deadly serious. And they had hopes and dreams and dreamed that one day Africa, from Cairo to the Cape, would be ruled by black people, by actual Africans. This was deep, knee-deep in colonial era, essentially, to the point where we couldn't see that far ahead, that we would effectively be free from under the yoke of supremacy. Fast forward to 2024, we have a brown prime minister. In fact, as of 2018, there had never been a black or brown person in one of the actual great offices of state. And we find ourselves here today with a filthy rich Indian origin prime minister. It's a big deal, and it has to be put in some degree of context, or some degree of memory, that we have to find a way as people to come together and bank the actual memory of this person or so, or of this moment, to make sure we do it properly. And that's what brings us here. So we're in the middle of an election that Rishi Sunak, who nobody would describe as a political genius, that he needlessly called 6 months before he had to, effectively decapitated, putting his own head on the guillotine and pulling the rope down and watching it swing down. He's done that for whatever reason, and he is about to be taken out by his own accord. We have to look into that tonight. And we come here tonight to ask the question: the children of the colonized, black and brown history in particular, how will we remember the first ethnic minority prime minister, or the first brown Prime Minister, because I had a Jewish Prime Minister in the past too, and Boris Johnson, who's got some stuff going on in him too. And he just looks white, he's passing, right? So how do we remember this moment? How do we remember this man? How does black and brown history, because remember, normally history, even our own history or so, it's rarely ever told by us. That's why most of us, when we talk about slavery, we say that blacks sold blacks into slavery, which is one of the most ridiculous things you've ever heard. But how do we remember this moment? How do the children of the colonized remember this moment? Ladies and gentlemen, I am super proud and actually honored beyond belief that we have assembled a really, really brilliant group of people. So everybody knows who everybody who's going to come up here is this evening. We're going to hear from them one by one, where they're going to give 3 minutes of their unfiltered, unmitigated, blackest, brownest thoughts on why or how we should remember the first brown Prime Minister. I'm seeing a hand waving at me already. So I normally leave the best for last. But I'm going to start on with a very, very strong person. I hope I've got a timekeeper back there. Ladies and gentlemen, to memorialize the passing, the tragic, unfortunate, crashing, burning, and ritual humiliation of the first brown Prime Minister, I bring to you Dr. Shola. Thank you.
Flow through. Can I be honest? Can I be real? Is this a safe space? Yeah. Whether it's safe or not, please let me talk. Listen, I would love, absolutely love, to celebrate the first brown Asian Prime Minister. Good Lord, I would love to be up on everybody's doorstep going, look at what we've done. But I can't. Hell to the freak no, I cannot. Why? Because Rishi Sunak, the first British brown Asian Prime Minister, is neither an inspiration nor an aspiration. This man has undoubtedly, he has changed the face of British politics to brown. But he kept the substance white. I said what I said. You don't like it? Call 999. Call 911. The reality is, people will say, oh, you can't reduce him to his race and ethnicity. I'm not reducing him to his race and ethnicity. But it is because of his race and ethnicity that he is first. That is what sets him apart from the pale, stale, predominantly male prime ministers we have had in British political history. Am I lying? No. Don't let Nigerian speak. Am I lying? No. And what I'm trying to say here is, and people say to me, he's your representation. No, he's not. All he's achieved, think about it. The first British brown Asian Prime Minister became the Prime Minister of the most right-wing, anti-woke, cultural warmongering government in British political history. When God did not put stupid on my forehead, how can I possibly say that that's my representation? He is somebody's representation, just not mine. When James Baldwin said, and I love James Baldwin, so people, yeah, read Malcolm X, but oh my God, I love James Baldwin. You know, when I say that, people like Rishi Sunak, Priti Deported Patel, Cruella, Braverman. When I say that they are racial gatekeepers, people go, well, you know, you can't say that. It's a difference of opinion. No, a difference of opinion is when my husband disagrees with me and I've not divorced him yet. No, it is racial gatekeeping. Do you understand? That is a massive difference. I'm going to take liberties with 60 seconds. Because James Baldwin said, we can disagree and still love each other unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression, denial of my humanity, and my right to exist. And that is what Rishi Sunak has done. He has cashed in the oppression, denial of humanity, and right to exist of the oppressed. The son of immigrants becoming the weapon against immigrants. What the hell is that? Each walk 6 feet under, and then we cremate, and then 6 feet under some more. That's how we should remember him. And let me finish off with this. I said I would love to celebrate him, but I can't. Representation is not skin deep. So we all know Zora Hurston's famous quote that all skin folk are not. We all went to school, well done. And Rishi Sunak epitomizes that. From race to class and everything in between, he is the face, the absolute face of the systemic, racial, economic, and social inequalities and injustices. How do you celebrate that? You can't. And so Zora's quote is basically telling us that there are people in the black and brown communities that become agents of white supremacy. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the agent of white supremacy, Rishi Sunak. And that is what has happened. So let me tell you, yes, representation is not skin deep. What I'm asking for, and I think it's a very small ask, it's not too much, eh? A bit of jollof rice on goat's meat and stay with Maggie. It's not too much. I am saying, give me a reason to believe in you, to believe that you can use the power and influence you've achieved to do what I am unable to do. Rishi Sunak failed to do that. And that is what I am going to remember. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shala. Thank you for telling us what you really mean and how you really feel. Thank you so much, yeah. I suspect a few of us are probably going to be deported by the end of the night. You wonder Beckett, because if Rishi wins, if he somehow hops out the grave, I'm telling you, this is going to be, it's good. There's about how many hundreds? We can probably fit on the A380, you know what I mean, to Rwanda. That would be all of us there, straightforward. Black and white, we'll all be there together. Point of blackness from our brother Albie.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a very quick point about immigration policy under Boris Johnson, Priti Patel, Suella Braverman and Rishi Sunak. They've actually been the most liberal government on immigration in British history. In factual terms, the Conservative government since 2019 has invited more immigrants to move to the United Kingdom, more black and brown immigrants to move to the United Kingdom than any government before them.
Point of blackness. Thank you. Now, what many of you don't know, you probably know that Albie and I disagree on everything and everything in between. But what you don't know is that I am his honorary auntie. I am. And the reality is, you are absolutely, completely, unapologetically wrong. All right? So when you say...
my statistics wrong now?
I don't...
The facts wrong?
Those are not facts. That's just gaslighting nonsense. The reality is that the worst kind of divisive rhetoric, the most dehumanizing, toxic environment for immigrants has been created by the Tory government. So no, I'm not buying the BS. Oh my God, they've invited us. All that is nonsense, and it can kiss my royal black cherry. It's not the truth. It's a lie. It's a lie to cloud our judgments. It's a lie to whitewash the truth of the matter, which is that immigrants are not welcome in this country. The very immigrants upon which this country is built upon. So no, I don't buy it. Don't worry, I'm still your auntie, but you are wrong. And you keep talking, I will not give you jollof rice. Listen to me. You are wrong. You're whitewashing it. You're whitewashing it. You're whitewashing it. True. You're still whitewashing it. Or should I say you're blackwashing it? No, figure on it. You are wrong.
Alright, sorry, I'll be a little bit like. Right, so we're going to be a little bit more freewheeling in a moment or so. So hold on, we've got some points about. Guys, we've got another 7 speakers to get through. So if you've got point of blackness, please succinct, please. We'll come to the second, listen. Yeah.
Point of blackness. Point of blackness.
Sorry, what was that? Yeah, you know what? Share room.
Very brief.
Okay, very brief. Then we'll follow that.
Point of blackness, everybody. I just want to make a quick point. The black and brown cabinet ministers, past and present, sitting government, and the shadow cabinet, these positions are already performative. Okay? If they were progressives, they would not be in the position that they occupy right now. It's that simple.
Can we hear from Priscilla, please, with our sister with the hat?
I think everyone's point of blackness.
Thank you.
Point of blackness. I think everyone in the room is kind of forgetting how Rishi got elected.
Thank you.
Let's
Point of blackness.
Point of blackness.
He was not elected.
He was not. No. How he got to be the leader? They did not choose him. If you remember, we had Liz Truss for 45 days.
49.
49, and they did not have any other alternative. So he was not elected, but he was not chosen. They did not want him. And for the fact that he took the job just shows no shame. Absolutely no shame.
A billionaire with no shame. All right, sorry.
I need to make a point of blackness that just to augment your point. In fact, what happened was, because I was covering it very closely at the time, is that the Conservative Party chose to take away the decision as to who would become party leader from the membership because they feared they would not choose Rishi Sunak and would instead choose Boris Johnson. And that is how Rishi Sunak became leader of the Conservative Party and then de facto Prime Minister.
Can I just ask you one really brief question? Would you prefer that the Conservative Party would pick Boris Johnson? Yes or no?
Yes.
What do you think? Okay, so there's mixed feelings on Boris Johnson in the versus too. Right, we're going to go to our second speaker, ladies and gentlemen. So, we have to give Dr. Shola some space to breathe because you just can't. It's like Michael Jackson here in the stage and saying Mario's going to follow him or so. Just like I know it's no respect to anybody else. And no respect to Mario. I'm Mario. That's why I have to calm things down over here. So yeah. So it's just so I'm actually not going to call anybody out. Who would like to go next? Is the actual question. The Professor Sally Singh, ladies and gentlemen.
I'll just go ahead and read, partly because I'm an academic and that's what we do. Friends, Britain's countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury the PM, not to praise him.
Amen.
How many here have watched or are watching Bridgerton? Yeah.
I finished it.
Yeah. Our Rishi and his merry band of brown and black folk are living out their own Bridgerton fantasy. A magic land where enslavement, colonization, and genocide of people like themselves never happened, nor is happening now. Instead, it is all stately homes with manicured lawns, pretty white outfits, and they are white, and polite talk in plush drawing rooms over fine food, champagne, and even tea. All paid for, of course, by the blood of people who mostly look like themselves. Film scholar Kirsten Warner warns of plastic representation, where black and brown actors turn up on our screens but are no different beyond their skin color from endless white characters in white stories. That is our man Rishi. If comparisons to tropical fruits were not being prosecuted, we could mention one. Fortunately, there are many Indian foods that have similar and necessary qualities. I'll be happy to share some of them with you afterwards. Professor Ruha Benjamin puts it more bluntly. Black and brown faces in high places will not save us. Rishi, ever the high achiever, takes this further. Brown places and high places will impoverish, imprison, deport, oppress, and kill as many of us as possible, and as quickly as possible. Such is the role of a faithful servant of imperial, capitalist, white supremacist heteropatriarchy. That is bell hooks. But Sunak has a second master. He is also a full paid-up member of the colonized, capitalist, Hindu upper caste supremacists. His first master offers the Euro power adjacency, a kind of doorman's job at the Billington Club. The second master is happy to gloat at Rishi's ability to lord over the rest of brown folk as long as it gets a cut of the tips from the door, of course. I would say Rishi Sunak should be ashamed, but I doubt he knows that word in any language. But that's the obvious consequence for being the lackey for the Bullingdon Club boys. So all I shall say is goodbye, Rishi, and good riddance. May his name disappear.
Thank you so much, Professor Sanderson, much appreciated. Thank you so much, and that's absolutely eloquent as expected. Up next, as she's already grabbed the mic, one of our most brilliant young people. If you follow Tops on Twitter, you really learn so much from her. Also, you learn so much from her. You really have this vast appreciation for her intellect, for her integrity, and I'm so proud that she's joined us here tonight. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Tops.
Okay, so I'm going to read as well. So when I initially pondered the question, I thought he probably shouldn't be remembered. And then I thought, no, he should. And I think the real question we need to consider is, like, how should we remember him? We know that history tends to be whitewashed over time, but as caretakers of the truth, we must ensure that history accurately reflects the past. The approach to this question is light-hearted and should not be taken too seriously because obviously Rishi Sunak is still alive. But we need to remember the importance of capturing history truthfully, even as we appreciate satire and witty commentary. I don't particularly appreciate trivialising this because its impact to our communities isn't funny. Rishi Sunak took over as PM in October 2022 after the mess left by his predecessor, Liz Truss. He was the 5th Conservative Prime Minister since 2010, and we know that every politician wants to leave their mark and make sure they're remembered. Some might say that he had a tough job, taking over a party that had been in power for 12 years, was 30 points behind in the polls, and had only 2 years before a general election. And he also had to clean up Liz Truss's 40-day parliament mess. When he became PM, he made 5 pledges, most of them are total failures. But some of the obvious things that he'll be remembered for is the youngest and first British Asian MP, the controversial and inhumane Rwanda bill, his obscene wealth, and being grossly out of touch. History will seek to immortalise Rishi as the first non-white PM as a triumph over racism and bigotry. His position as PM will be used as a marker of success, as an example of progress and a tolerant Britain, the same way the US has tried to immortalise Obama and probably Kamala Harris. However, Rishi Sunak should be remembered as a foot soldier of white supremacy. He should be remembered as the last sequence of Conservative PMs who have facilitated a deep and shameful regression in this country. In 14 years, they have not produced a single brilliant visionary policy to advance the UK or the world. They have simply been policies that became slogans but haven't achieved anything. I'm sure we will all remember Stop the Boats. He should be remembered as a war criminal, because that is what he is, and that is what we're doing in his legacy. His race is the least significant thing about him, because white supremacy is not a person or a thing, it's an ideology. For it to thrive, you need black and brown people like Rishi, Suella, Kemi, James, even you, Alvin. As you reflect on his time as PM, let me remind you that identity politics is meaningless and hollow. His legacy perfectly illustrates why his race means nothing materially. Representation in these spaces is nice, and I won't minimize what it could mean for a young black or brown child to see someone who looks like them in places of power and influence. However, I'd like to believe that we're all grown-ups here, and with that comes the responsibility to live in the real world. Representation has yet to feed an empty stomach, fix the NHS, clean up our rivers, pay doctors fairly, eradicate poverty, and liberate any oppressed people. Seeing someone who looks like you on TV or in places of power hasn't liberated a single soul. Rishi Sunak is nothing more than an overseer complicit in the upholding of the imperialist machine designed to keep structural inequality in place. An oppressor is an oppressor, and skin colour does not change that. Representation without structural change is pointless. Rest in peace, Rishi Sunak, and Free Palestine.
So, just
10 seconds.
You're not going to sing. 10. Okay. 10 seconds.
In representation, malicious representation is not just pointless, it is malicious, because they can point at people like Suella, they can use people like Suella to promote these policies, and then when they get challenged and told that they're racist, they say, well, no, it's a brown person that did it, so it's worse than pointless.
Boom. There we go. Just, I'm not too sure, I don't want to be premature about this or so I'm not going to call us to rise to our feet just yet, but breaking news that Noam Chomsky may have just passed. So it's come from Double Down News, and the media then kind of confirmed it. So no, Professor Noam Chomsky, the word he suffered a stroke some days ago, but it's not be clear, may. So it's just not, it's not been 100% confirmed just yet. So, but some of the foreign language news stations, like Double Down News, who we do respect and do really view as a credible organisation, have actually tweeted about it. But I'm just waiting to hear from Media Lens and other people before we confirm it. And if it's confirmed within the next hour or so, then we will, of course, pay tribute to him here as a collective together or so. But anyway, right. Moving on to our next speaker. This is a very dynamic evening we have over here. Narinda. Narinda Kaur, please, would you like to take the microphone, please?
Hi guys, you okay? Yeah. Right, so how did Rishi Sunak how did he go from dishy Rishi to an egg?
He was never dishy.
So I'm going to keep the small question and answer, to be honest, but as an Indian child, back in the day, obviously not now, a child of immigrants, I was so gaslit when Rishi Sunak stepped into number 10. I was one of those people. I sat there, and it was in Diwali, the most auspicious occasion in the Indian calendar. I was like, this is sent from God. Oh my God, this was meant to happen to the brown and black communities in Britain today, especially the Indian communities. But what has Rishi Sunak done for the black and brown communities in this country? He's done exactly what his predecessors have done before, absolutely jack shit. And actually, I put the question on my social media, because I thought, why just my voice? Let's hear from people on the street. And I asked them, what did Rishi Sunak do for the Asian and black communities for you? Did he represent you? And these are some of the answers. Privileged, successful coconut, out of touch with the common folk, and definitely his own people. Wasted opportunity, could have been positive, game changer, but set things back. Coconut and a puppet willingly used to push out racist agendas. And that's where you have it, really. Everyone on the panel so far have said that already. He actually was a brown puppet. He pushed racist policies. And shall I tell you, when the walls came crumbling down, when the sky fell down, when I knew I had that proud moment that, oh my God, one of my own is there. I was slaying dragons on Twitter for him, and I was like, yes, our first brown Prime Minister. Yes, as an Indian in number 10. We never thought the day would happen. And it was exactly about a week later when I realised, oh no, does anyone know when it was when we realised this guy's an imposter? Suella Braverman. The minute he reinstated Suella Braverman, that was the moment I realised what an idiot I'd been. Oh God, Narinda, you idiot! You fell for it. Because at the end of the day, he may have been brown, he may have been Indian origin, but the guy was actually just, oh God, he was pushing racist policies. He was a coconut. Can I say that? Am I not being arrested?
You will be arrested. Yes.
Oh, I'm tweeting it off this. It's not me. It's not me. And I think today, there's so many things he did wrong. There's so many things he could have done for us, but he was never going to do it. We were blindsided because a man, before he was of Indian origin, he was a Tory. And that's what we forgot. I actually made the mistake of pronouncing. I put his colour and ethnicity before him. And actually he's a Tory. What did you expect? And before all of that, the reason this man progressed was not because he was Indian, not because he was brown, but because he was wealthy and he had class. Class is what is at play here. The man came from privilege. And actually Indians, the older generation Indians, he can't do no wrong. He's rich, he's had a premium education. That's all they need. He's a success. So my words today are, Rishi Sunak, we're in the, Rishi, you were rubbish. Good riddance.
Thank you so much, Linda. Much appreciated. I'll grab that microphone from you. Did I mention that we are at risk of deportation? Anyway, maybe I just didn't, anyway. So, look, yeah, Narendra, thank you very much. Yeah, absolutely. So, if you were not on a police spreadsheet prior to coming here tonight. Anyway, let's move on to, I personally think it's one of the greatest panels ever assembled. And I'm going to actually introduce this stage right now, an uppity legend, one of our founding mothers, the absolute, the people's favourite, ladies and gentlemen, Rusile twins.
Always overhype it. Thank you everyone. I don't want to repeat what everyone's saying because how many ways can we remember one person? So thank you for saying what you already said. But I think we give him too much credit, Rishi Sunak. I don't think he's going to be remembered for any of those things. I think he'll be remembered for what he allowed to continue, which there was a seamless blip in the imperialist project. Just because we had a brown leader, nothing changed. And I think it dispels the myth for anyone out there who wants their child or themselves to become the first insert non-white person to be in the cabinet or to run the country. So I think that's the most important thing to be remembered for, is that all of us in this room can continue committing the atrocities that the people that we always blame, white people, can commit. So I think it's important for us to reflect on ourselves, reflect on our ideologies, reflect on the things that we think when we're not in power, and see how easy it is for when we get there, for us to do the same thing. And I think that's the most dangerous thing that some of you already said. It was a very dramatic pause. I also think that, I know the woman before me said, when did we realise that he was, whatever he says he is. But I think what we did learn, or what we did confirm, is that if you go to Oxford and study PPE, if you get an MBA from Stanford University, if you become an investment banker, if you write voluntarily for right-wing think tanks, and then you want to enter politics and staunchly support Boris Johnson and Michael Gove, then what else could you produce? The signs are always, the writing is always on the wall. And sometimes, and for me and my people, we didn't expect anything from him, so I'm grateful, right? So there's a few of you in here, this is a wake-up call for yourself. And never, never, ever, ever believe that someone who has the same skin color as you believes the same things as you. It's a very, very poor mentality to have, and we should have learned that from the moment they stepped forward on our shores and they used us as proxies, and we were participating in selling ourselves as slaves, right? We need to always remember that the imperialist project can't run without our agency and collaboration, okay? So Rishi Sunak, how you will be remembered is that it's probably best that we actually vote for our prime ministers, and we just don't let them be unelected. So yeah, that's my contribution to everyone else.
Thank you so much, Sarah, much appreciated. I feel we probably... should we take a point of blackness right now? Yeah. Hold on, no, sorry. I did promise my sister over here that we'll hear the speeches first. So we'll come back, hold your horses, ladies and gentlemen, and people, everybody, right. We need a bit of masculine energy here. I'm joking. But we are going to have... sorry, guys, pass the coconuts around. It has no symbolic value whatsoever. It's just here because it tastes nice. So, sorry, just there's coconut, I think it's macaroons. I better pronounce that right. So please, it has no symbolic value whatsoever. It just tastes nice. There we go. So, it's purely a coincidence. There we go. Right, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, everybody, we... okay, all right. Okay. I need to take a step back and really give it just running out of superlatives for tonight, actually, really truly. But this is somebody who's really special, who's actually, we are absolutely delighted to have here tonight. When I asked her to come along, I was kind of thought to myself I was going to get a blunt no, but when she said yes, I literally jumped for joy. This is somebody who was, not going to go into too much details or anything else, and you can read into read into that what you may, but one of our most brilliant and forthright voices.
One and only.
One of the people who's carried the cross for all of us, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters,
Amen.
Absolutely everybody, please welcome Sangeeta Meister.
She might be sacked, but she ain't broken. First of all, thank you very much indeed for welcoming me here tonight. I haven't been out very much in the last few weeks. It's been a bit of a journey, and I'm building my confidence back up. So, for my first little talk here, I'm going to be reading. So, let's start. The question tonight is, how should black and brown history judge Prime Minister Rishi Sunak? Well, like all politicians, I don't wish to be cynical here, but the answer depends on what you believe he did for you as an individual. So, I'm going to ask you to conduct a thought experiment with me. I want you to conjure up in your mind a brown or black businesswoman who maybe, I don't know, made oodles of cash during the pandemic using the PPE VIP lanes that were so thoughtfully laid on for her by her friends in the Tory party. Have you all got her in your minds?
She doesn't exist.
You'll be surprised. Now, this black or brown businesswoman would, most likely, send her kids to a private school and wants to avoid paying VAT on fees by rather ridiculously pretending that the private school in question is a charity and not a business. She, of course, will be giving Rishi the big thumbs up at this moment in time. She'll also feel the same way about Rishi if her business hasn't folded as a result of the millions of pounds in extra costs that have resulted from Brexit and are now, once friction-free borders, being full of said friction. If she can afford private healthcare, unlike these 7 million people stuck on NHS waiting lists, she'll still be giving Rishi Sunak her vote at this general election. If she doesn't give a hoot about Rishi's spectacular failure to restore professionalism, trust and integrity to politics, lol, again, she's going to be very much in tune with our Rish. If she thinks ignoring the crisis in social care is just fine because she owns a massive mansion in Mayfair with a whole wing where she can house her elderly parents and then pay for a private nurse that will cost somewhere between £50,000 and £75,000, well, again, he has got her vote. If this fictional businesswoman is desperate to roll up the ladder behind her when it comes to immigrants, she'll be on board with Rishi. If she, like the PM, is perfectly fine with sending asylum seekers back to East Africa, where her own parents probably fled from, then again, she might still be one of the very few people in this country that still thinks that Rishi is dishy. For my part, I'm not that fictional businesswoman, nor are the majority of people in this country. All you have to do is take a look at the current polling. I do believe that representation matters. Like Narinda, I loved seeing a brown man with his brown family walking right through those doors in number 10. I had said for many, many years I did not believe it would ever happen in my lifetime. It can be a game changer. But Rishi Sunak has put party before people, specifically brown and black people. I do not believe that your race should dictate your politics. I'm with you on that, Albie. But the point of diversity in politics, the point of diversity in any position of leadership, is that your unique insight into the challenges faced by those who look like you informs your policy decisions. Otherwise, what is the point? Sunak's tacit consent to the racist language used by Braverman and others, his minimising the P word, his own casting of hundreds of thousands of lawful marchers as the mob, is nothing short of an utter disgrace. Added to his failure to publish the legal advice to the government over arms supplied to the most contentious military conflict of our time, Israel's war in Gaza, is just shocking. It is beyond negligence. The question, I might add actually, as a sidebar, if that legal advice goes in favour of the government continuing to supply arms, what is the problem with publishing it? I'm just going to leave that thought with you. All of this to appeal to what David Cameron, nay, Lord Cameron, called the swivel-eyed loons in his own Conservative Party. By doing all of this, Rishi Sunak has made this country less safe for us by normalising the racism that post-2012 very briefly became socially toxic. Whatever Sunak did to steady the economic ship post-Truss, let's face it, you could have put, I don't know, a lettuce into number 10, and it too would have probably steadied the economic ship. Whatever he did in that regard, his legacy for us, brown and black people, is to have devalued our position in society for decades to come. And, last but not least, to mislead white people into believing that calling someone a coconut is a crime. For the record, it is not a crime. It's not.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies, everybody. Sangeeta Maiswani, just thank you. And you're never out. You'll never be out. You'll never be down. Amen. Can I get an amen to that? Amen. All right. So let's have a bit of masculine energy right now. Actually, we default to masculine energy. So Rajesh, have you seen Defiance on Channel 4? Have you seen that? How British agents fought the far right and won. Well, this is the director of it, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody,
I'm going to go fast because I've got a lot to say. Rishi Sunak and I have got a lot in common. Rishi Sunak's grandfather was from Ludhiana, so is my grandfather. Rishi Sunak's parents came from East Africa. My mother came from East Africa. I know Rishi Sunak. Rishi Sunak's my boy. And we've all stood here today and we've all kind of dissed him, but you know, Rishi Sunak is an honourable man. And I just wanted to bring back to, as a Punjabi, I want to bring us back to the Punjabi form for a eulogy. There's a particular format that this should do. And the first thing is that we speak of Rishi Sunak's father, Yushfir Sunak, who came over from Kenya in the 60s. And the second thing we do is we speak of our dear departed's achievements. And I'd like to just run through them because this is the format of a Punjabi eulogy. Head boy at Winchester. On to Goldman Sachs. On to a hedge fund. Where, thankfully, he helped to collapse the terrible financial bubble that had grown up till 2008 by being central to some of the deals that helped to kind of collapse the whole market. So, you know, thank Sunak. Otherwise, we'd still be living in that terrible financial bubble that we were in for so long. So, as I say, Sunak is an honourable man. Let's thank him for Eat Out to Die. Sorry, I mean, Eat Out to Help Out. You know, this man is, as the government's chief medical officer called him, this man not only lived for us, he is Dr. Death. He also led us forward into the valley where we fell, and with Sunak in charge of us. Now I want to go back further a bit into, so that's Sunak. We know that he's been Prime Minister for however many months it is, unelected. I mean, the poor guy, frankly, right from the beginning, you knew it was a setup. Could I have that image up? this was my view of what was going to become Sunak just before he was elected or not elected. You know, can you play the video? He was always set up to be a piñata. After 14, 12 years of Tory failure, this man was always set up to be the guy who was going to take the fucking punishment beating on behalf of all the other Tories. And that's what he's doing. He's the piñata. He is, as someone once described Theresa May, the sin eater. He is eating the sins on behalf of the Tory party. So while we are busy burying Sunak, let's not forget that he was put there, and he is in this position, for a very clear strategic reason. In the same way that in the 16 and 1700s, when the Dutch and East India Company were criticised in the Western press for the opium trade, they did what they did then. They put a brown guy in front and said, go out there and justify this shit. And they've still been doing that. Now, just very quickly, I just want to kind of talk about some of the more recent history. And I think we should also be very sympathetic to Sunak because the deeper psychological structure of this man, as well as Braverman and Patel, is shaped not by their Indianness, but by their East Africanness. You've got to remember that Mr. Sunak's father and his grandfather grew up in Kenya amidst the horror of the Mau Mau. They lived in terror of the Mau Mau coming to get them in the middle of the night. They fled to Britain where the Empire held them tight and saved them from the black mass hordes going across a newly independent Africa. You know, this man is beset from childhood with unconscious fever dreams of black people coming to get him. You've got to feel sympathy for him. Him and when Braverman's maiden speech in Parliament, she talks about how her father was chased out of Kenya. Now, as Sunak will head off into the clegg lands of corporate sort of, let's face it, Sunak saw the job as a stepping stone, didn't he? He's going to follow the clegg route. He's going to be is it Tesla or Rizla? What's it going to be? It's going to be Tesla, isn't it? He's not going to be at home. And as he heads off, let's kind of try and have a bit of empathy for the guy, beset by these Mau Mau fever dreams, kind of all this stuff he had fed into him at Winchester. And the other thing, on a serious note, I will say, is that when I spoke to my wife about this today, we have a 4-year-old daughter, and when I spoke to my wife about this today, she did say something to me, and I'll leave this to you, as we peer forward into a future of possibly Nigel Farage taking over the Tory party, of a collapse into far-right demagoguery and authoritarianism in this country, be that from the major parties or the fringe parties. I remember George W. Bush. I remember how awful we thought it was. And then we got Trump. So, as much as we're here burying Sunak, let's think about what my wife said to me today, which was, as much as you may hate on this guy, and the truth is, while he's an honourable man, I do hate on the guy. At the end of the day, she said, your daughter is growing up, and when the first Prime Minister she's aware of is a brown man. And she gave me pause for stop. She caused me to stop and think. And whatever we may think about him, and whatever we all agree, he's been a tool and a piñata and a colonial sort of instrument, the future in this country looks dark. And we should at least think that maybe at the moment that he is dying, that perhaps we show a little bit of grace, because he is an honourable man, and perhaps we can all just say, rest in peace, Rishi Sunak.
I'll just wrap up this. So I'm the last speaker, so I'll just go into it really quickly. So I'm now in my capacity as speaker, just going to put away the chair and keep for a minute. So I'm just going to speak. Femi.
It's a Nigerian accent.
For a moment. Okay, and you two Yoruba kids, we're sitting to the back of the class, I'll beat you. And you're not joking. Okay. I went a bit too far. Everybody. I think we've been harsh on Rishi Sunak tonight.
Then why did you ask us to come?
I think we've been very harsh on Rishi Sunak tonight. I think that Rishi Sunak is an important historical figure in British history. He is somebody who we all owe a significant debt of gratitude to. And we must express it. We must. It's absolutely essential that we express it. I am not saying that we owe Rishi Sunak a debt of gratitude just because he was the first brown Prime Minister. In fact, I'm not saying that in the slightest bit. I'm not saying we owe Rishi Sunak a debt of gratitude due to his strange management of the economy. I'm not saying we owe Rishi Sunak a debt of gratitude, even on some form of racial empathy perspective. I am saying, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, absolutely everybody of all genders and none, I am saying that we, in particular, black and brown people, we owe Rishi Sunak a debt of gratitude for destroying the Conservative Party. Yes, Rishi Sunak was a nightmare, but for once, he is their nightmare, not ours. So yeah, we had to withstand a few years. We have some of us still going through nightmares right now with the whole, like our sister Maria is right here. Like we're all going to follow Maria to court on the 26th of June. Please, 26th of June, Maria is going to court for calling Suella Braverman for a placard depicting Rishi Sunak and Suella Braverman as coconuts. And we still got some coconut stuff around the way, so. But it's important, I just want us all to know that we must be grateful to this man. The British Conservative Party is to the children of the colonized what Al-Qaeda was to the Twin Towers, what the rope is to the hanging man, what water is to the drowning man. We must express that absolute debt of gratitude to Rishi Sunak whenever we see him. So whenever you see Rishi Sunak, walk towards him and say, "Can I give you a big hug, please?" And then look him deeply in the eye and say, "Thank you for destroying the Tories." And now, with that said, let the point of blackness flow. Let's go. Here we go. So we've got one microphone over here, and obviously I'll go back to chairing. Dr. Scholler, please.
Okay, so can I just say that I love you, Nels, but I disagree. I don't believe that Rishi Sunak destroyed the Conservative Party. The reality is that the Conservative Party was completely destroyed by Boris Johnson and then by the white lady who got outlived by letters. I think that Rishi Sunak saw the only opportunity available to him and probably any other black or brown person, that this was the only time he could ever be Prime Minister, and he took it. For that, I don't think anybody in this room can doubt that Rishi Sunak is a smart man, he's an intelligent man. And you see, when you're reading out all of his accomplishments, the Nigerian mother in me was saying, very good. We just head boy, excellent. Is it Oxford? Stanford, excellent. I was partying on about, because that's what we would see, right? We're raised to do our best, right? But just the reality is that all he ended up doing in the short time that he had was to allow the status quo to flow, which is why he is the face of the very systemic, economic, racial, and social inequalities that oppress the very people that he's meant to be a part of. Again, not a difference of opinion, but gatekeeping.
Absolutely. I just say quickly, we'll go to the brother over here, so you're going to come to the light a little bit, brother. I didn't mean that in any particular way. But one thing we are not... Oh yeah, they gave me one. One thing I don't think one thing we have acknowledged also too, that, and I stand by the point that is probably, when you're thinking back at it, this is a great collaboration. This is one of the great black and brown achievements of our time. Kwasi Kwarteng and Rishi Sunak collectively destroyed the Tories, Kwasi with the mini budget, and Sudak pretty much, Sudak just couldn't finish the job off. So there we go. But let's come to our brother over here, please.
Very quickly.
Sorry, what's the ritual?
Pointing blackness,
please.
Said it already. As much as I love this collective, let's all throw a shovel of dust on Rishi Sunak, I'd love to hear a plurality reviews, you know the word, of views.
I'll be giving you the plurality. What else do you need?
Yeah, just another side from anyone who thinks he did a great job or what he stood for or why he stood for what he stood for. Anyone?
So, sorry, we have a ritual here.
A little point of blackness here. And I want to talk about a little thing that I saw. And this is Rishi Sunak is a little bit short, about my height, and he's skinny. And every time the press talks about him, they mention these things. And they mention like, oh, he's not leaderly life. And it's worth remembering that happening. And I don't have a great affection for him, so I don't think this is really plurality of views, but it's worth noticing that even in all the damage he did and all his participation in the systemic things that we all have suffered, he's in there and being affected by it as well. And that's also a message to all of us about what we can expect and what change is going to involve.
Thank you. We're on fire right now. Okay, so we'll do a couple over here, then we'll come to you guys over here. Then we'll come to our brother over here. Okay?
Blackness?
Sorry, where's the point black? Please go ahead, please.
So I know we're sort of doing a memorial for Rishi, but I think that it's also good to point out that the fact that he's not singular, he's not a singular enigma. There are lots of them that are coming through, and we need to talk about Kemi. If we are not talking about Kemi, we need to talk about Kemi. Because if you hear about the rhetoric that is also coming out of her mouth, if in terms of what she's saying, in terms of what she's perpetuating, it is exactly the same thing. So we need to talk about Kemi.
Absolutely. I think that we should probably make it clear that as Nigerians, I want to explain something about Nigeria to you guys. There's 371 ethnic groups in Nigeria. Kemi is from the same ethnic group as Dr. Shola, Femi, Yebusu, who else is here? So it's this over here. Dele Ogun, Tops is another one. Dele Ogun is somewhere, Professor Dele Ogun. Priscilla, yeah, there we go. Professor Dele Ogun, Dr. Dele Ogun, please come forward. Yep, let them see your face. Let them claim this. Actually, a good sex. If you look up, this is discrimination. Just say one thing. Don't look up Kemi Band. Don't look up Kemi Band's maiden name, because you might see a similarity with somebody else's maiden name. Please, all right. Let's let Dele Ogun speak, please.
Points of blackness, not on Kemi Badenoch, but on Neo Sabi. I am no defender of the Conservative Party that played on both their houses. But when I hear Nels Abbey inviting us to believe that all colonial ills and sins were simply the acts and deeds of the Conservative Party, that betrays an ignorance of history. Because some of the worst sins of colonialism, in fact, not some, the worst sins of colonialism were committed by the Labour Party. It is that impression created again. We wouldn't hurt you, we love you guys. Just like that. He wouldn't do it to you, it looks like you. The Labour Party, if you think of the Biafra War,
That was Harold Wilson's war. Never forget that. That's all I wanted to say. As regards Kemi Badenoch, oh my dear.
We'll come to Sam. Sam, please. And then we'll come to our brother over here. Sorry, please.
Hello. Point of reference. I wanted to make 2 points and then ask a question. The first point was about Sangeeta. We love you, Sangeeta. You were appointed in LBC. You were the only person who stuck around in LBC, and we all know basically what happened. And you'll always have the support of the people in this room, I'm sure. The second point was the gentleman who mentioned that Rishi being Punjabi. I'm Punjabi too. And that was actually the best thing about him. Because when I get really angry, I swear in Punjabi. It's the most beautiful language to swear in. And my third question is, actually, people can say what they want about the Tory party and Rishi Sunak being the first brown leader of the Tory party, but how many millions of light years away are the Labour Party from having a black or Asian person near the top?
Why?
Okay, point of blackness.
Why won't it happen?
Point of blackness.
One gentleman in Georgia.
Point of blackness, very quick, just in response to the question about the Labour Party. I'd rather that there be white people forever that have a black person who is going to be token and come up only a token space and push policies and be used as the mouthpiece to denigrate and basically make black people and brown people other. The Labour Party, Rishi Sunak and Suella Braverman and Kemi Badenoch have been the mouthpiece for a really dangerous rhetoric which has marginalised black people, has created otherness, and I can't tell you just how much I realised that until I left the country, went to other places where they are not, where fascism isn't really being pushed, and you can see just how badly it is destroying this country.
Sorry, we've got a point of blanks on there. We'll come back to Thompson, Dr. Scholar, and then our brother Brown over there too.
Yeah, point of blackness over here.
Brother, you're gonna stand up. We need to see you.
Well, I like standing. It's more comfortable. Yeah, point of blackness. He's clearly a very complicated figure, and I do think that maybe there might be just an inherent flaw in this whole discussion about talking about him as a prime minister, because we've talked about about the Conservative Party and how the Conservative Party has just gone more right-wing even in the last few years. I think all his actions he's done as a prime minister is to basically try and keep that wing of the party just sort of compliant and happy because he wasn't elected. And really, if we really want to sort of discuss his legacy, it's his legacy as a chancellor. I think that's what we're paying for everything he did as a chancellor, between the PPE, between Eat Out to Help Out. I think that's where you go. Every single action that you made during that time period was just poisonous to everyone here. And not only was it poisonous to everyone here, that's when you go, you disregarded your race, you disregarded class, and that's when you really, really just set us down this sort of path that we're on right now. And I think any other sort of Tory party leader would have probably done similar, if not the same, in his position. But he's the one who's been left with like the bag to carry, or as someone else here referred to it as the senator.
Sorry, quick question, brother. Are you American?
No.
Oh, sorry, I just thought I had a little Brooklyn voice. Hold on, 6 seconds. We'll go to the brother behind you in the white top over there. Because you're a superstar, I'm going to ask you to come to the middle. They need to get a bang for their buck. So yeah, please. BAFTA winner, Emmy this, Emmy that. He's going to the Oscar shoot in the middle.
Anyways, but he just wants a couple two things actually. Is one, the gentleman there is right. As somebody who's not elected, you have to kind of do what the party want you do. Second, where is anybody from the Labour Party actually here?
Ladies and cowards.
Cool. That's right. But thirdly, actually, and more importantly, but that's for everybody here who has seen this like aspirational and one of the big things in their career and life and stuff, is that actually this is if it's anything to take from Rishi Sunak is a warning. Whoever took that job was going to fail. And it is not lost on me that the first time them choose a non-white person is when it was already long predicted that they would have the most historic defeat ever. And see, you can call Obama name, you can call, what's her name, Lisa Lucas, the publishing lady, you can call the lady who was the head of Harvard. And actually, I would say, just be mindful for everybody who want to be promoted and everybody who want to be presidents and leaders or leader of any business or corporation or education or institution, that actually take his thing as a warning that the minute they want to promote you, just be mindful of why they are promoting you now. And choose, like Doctor said, like why, you know, is that either protect the job. Actually, I have sympathy for him. Because actually, you're right, he would have never, Liz Truss no, should have never win, should have never get in by voting. Rishi Sunak no, he would have never get in by voting. So maybe him say, you know what, maybe I might take it on.
He still could have done something. I'm sorry.
I'm not saying he could not. He could not. But that, and don't get me wrong, as I said, but the better a chance of a wicked man. Me not say nothing. What I'm saying is, take it as a warning. Because across industries, across politics, across working at TV,
Working class
black,
never get there
like,
anyway. It's only 'cause he was
me
upper
know,
class.
but what I say is even in TV, all the black shows that got commissioned, whoa, great moment. Where are all those black shows now? So I'm gonna just say, it's just take it, if anything, take him as a warning, to be like, look, when your time comes to get promoted or when you want to push for a leadership role, remember how he got there and how he felt. That's all.
We look at John's question. Yeah, but I've stood out because I want you guys to know that I don't. Anyway, strictly a start parody when I go pitch my stuff to Hollywood or so. When I pitch up into the HBO. Anyway, let's come to our sister over here, please, yes.
Okay, so what I'm going to say is that I'm not surprised that Rishi Sunak goes on the way he does, because I'm talking to like my Asian brothers and sisters here. We've got to be honest and have a conversation about the anti-blackness in the Asian community. It's big and it's real. Yeah, because like I come from my heritage is from St Vincent, big up Small Island, yeah, and India, and my grandparents came over here on a boat and they married and they were together, and when I went to school, I was shunned. Like, because I grew up in Wembley, and I'm embarrassed because we breed people like Priti Patel, Suella Braverman, Carmen Robinson, and that Junkra, Catherine Verbal Singh, who has that Michaela Academy. It's all from North West London, the most diverse part of London that you can get. But we need to have an honest conversation of the colorism and the racism and the anti-blackness in the Asian community. I was shunned as a child. I was very lonely because when people, I look Asian, but I've got the mixed heritage, and when I used to go to people's houses and they used to question where my heritage come from, all of a sudden I don't get invited back. And then my children, they look more black. And my daughter said something to me that was very, very real. She said, it's not that I don't claim the Asian heritage, it's they don't claim me. Yeah? So she looks black and she don't claim her Asian side because they don't claim her. And Rishi Sunak, I ain't surprised. I ain't surprised that he goes on the way he does, because I think you touched upon it when you said about the people that came from Kenya. They were put there as the overseers. They were there to like police the black people. They were there to be the acceptable face of white colonialism and to perpetuate that. So I ain't shocked that they go on the way that they go on. So I don't know why a lot of people are sitting there shocked at the way that, a lot of Asian people go on. But we need to have an honest conversation about the anti-blackness and the racism that goes on and is perpetuated by Asian people towards black people. Like, look at the Peckham shop.
As well, you've been a few times. My husband got called a packy by a black guy the other day.
But when the Peckham shop happened, and you had a lot of Asian people coming out and talking about road gal and all them kind of things, they were there fighting the fight and being there. And you see it in America as well, a lot of the Republican Party of Asian heritage, Nikki Haley and all them people there.
Sorry, point to black. I must point out too that ingrained hatred of black people actually exists within black people too.
No, I hear that. The colorism.
I completely get you.
I hear that.
Colorism also, right? So if there's Nikki Haley, but there's also, say, I don't know, there's Sean Bailey. But bless him also. But
no, but I'm just saying.
I retract Sean Bailey because I didn't.
Yeah, but we're talking about Rishi Sunak, innit?
But yeah,
I'm saying, but I don't know why people are really shocked because this is normal. Because I grew up in Wembley, and trust me, that's how it goes.
Can we spread the mic and tell you? Sorry, just one second. Sorry, okay, because she's an elder. Sorry, she's not an elder. You're an old person. So,
I am an old person.
Sorry.
What it is it's all part of the caste system, okay? And there are the Dalits, the untouchables, right? And the Dalits, their role in India, even in 2024, is to clean the sewages, right? And they're my type of complexion, they physically go in the sewage and clear with bowls and stuff the feces, all right? That is how the caste system works. But it's very important that I say this. What made me laugh about, and I don't mean in a rude way, the culture, is that the Constitution of India was written by a Dalit. And he was treated badly, and he had to sit on the floor as a young man. But he rose up, ignored the bad behavior, and he became a lawyer. He has 2 PhDs. Whenever India shows pictures of him, they've got a lot of light in his face, but he wrote your constitution. And there's an inherent joke about it. The Dalits that you're not accepting rule India every day. And that's all I have to say.
All right. Can I plead for a split second? Can I plead for one split second? Can I plead for one split second? Just one split second, please. We're here to remember Rishi Sunak. So, we're just taking a very sharp left in the direction. But don't get me wrong, we can come back and talk about black and brown relations another day. But today, we're here to mourn and dance on the political grave of Rishi Sunak. Please let us dance. Thank you very much. I'm going to come over to my brother is. I'll just come to you guys in a second. I got you. My brother over here has been waiting for donkey years. They'll come back over to this over here. Please, brother, please. Succinct, brother, because we are about to start paying significantly more because we're going over the hours.
Okay, so point of blackness. So first of all, I'm really sorry, I'm building just slightly on a lady she's gone now. She walked out in fury. Okay, so what I was saying is that, my ancestors had house slaves who would stop them from escaping, Divide and conquer has always ruled us, black and brown people.
Point of blackness, brother. When you say your ancestors had house slaves, are you talking about?
No. All right, so in Jamaica, right, there were house slaves, house slaves who would watch them, and when they tried to run away, they'll grab them back. That's what happened in the Caribbean and in America. Okay, so divide and conquer, or divide and rule, has always been with us. I think I have a question for the panel. When I look at my Jewish brethren, they can have left-wing Jews, right-wing Jews, and they still unify, and they have power structures and lobby groups. And they have APAC in America. What can we do to do something very similar? Because, I am frustrated that it's 2024 and we're still, sorry, but what this lady said is 100% correct. Rishi Sunak is in the hierarchy, okay? And he's used his brownness and his caste to get to where he is. A question, what can we do to create our own APAC?
That's okay. All right. It just got real again. Ladies and gentlemen. Right. Now we're talking APAC. Right. So I'm just going to go to because trust me, this is not an easy thing running this up. Honestly, I'm trying my best to keep this afloat. Work with me here, guys. We'll come to our sister over here, who's been holding on for a long time. And so is my brother here. And so is Messiah. And we'll come to all of this. Trust me, we'll get to all of it.
Point of flatness. No, it's a quick point. Two points. One, left wing.
And stand up so the camera can see.
Oh gosh. Point of flatness, guys. One point is left wing, right wing, same bird. So we need to remember that. So whilst we're arguing about the Labour's misfortunes and Rishi, rightly so, I won't repeat what's been said previously, rightly so. However, I think that now more than ever we have a responsibility to engage in politics enough to know what our responsibility is to one another. I think we are a bit delusional to keep putting so much pressure on one person or one puppet or the current puppet that sits in office. It's down to us to move the status quo. And what I mean by that is realising what your responsibility is. Is your responsibility to find out what other parties can move further to change, because there's no perfect parties existing now, or I don't think there ever will, underneath this machine that we are forced to live under. So I think, again, whilst we have these discussions, and it's always good, we repeatedly say this on our platform, Black Canvas TV, don't know, that yeah, you have a responsibility. We keep putting not too much pressure, put all the pressure you want, but you have a responsibility at the same time to be educated on what is actually the machine that is you're conditioned under. Everyone here is conditioned to conform to these systems that are not designed to benefit you. They never will benefit you. So realise what your responsibility is to make that change.
I apologise, I'll come to you in a second. And Maria, you in particular, I'll come to you guys in a second. Our brother here's been waiting for about 45 minutes for you to have that. Please, yeah.
Thank you. I'll keep it because the conversation's been great. Sorry, point of blackness.
Thank you.
Yes, just kind of picking up on a few points going around the room. It's interesting about what we need to, to have an APAC. We don't really need a lobbying group. What we need is grassroots black and brown solidarity. They're saying that Dr. South fought for, they're saying that Olive Morris fought for, they're saying that Billy Jones fought for. And when thinking about, let's think about something positive about Rishi Sunak. Let's understand who he is and where he comes from. Because we spoke about his class position, his positioning for the caste system, his positioning through being a product of colonial control in East Africa, which I'm also a part of, or a product of. He is a product of many things, but not only that, he believes in his bullshit, realistically. And he is someone who's been not only a product, but who's someone who represents that model minority idea of not just upholding white supremacy, but out-whiting white people, And it's interesting thinking about, what he represents for me. He don't represent me for shit, realistically. But not only that, he also represents, we spoke about class, caste, privilege, we're talking about the other factors that lead into, and the other parameters by which he comes to power. We also got to look at Hindu supremacy, Hindu nationalism, and how that manifests transnationally. That shit's PNC leaders, around the globe. And so when thinking about him believing his bullshit and the multiple axes by which he's a product of, it's just interesting to really put that into perspective. And that's what I think when I think of Rishi Sunak. He is the product of multiple things. That means he performs whiteness in so many different forms. And I think there's one thing I want to leave on is believing that Rishi Sunak, that the symbolic representation supersedes the lack of structural change that we want to see, is just as paradoxical as believing you're a conservative against racism.
Thank you. I'm just sorry, I know there's a lot of voices. LB has taken a lot of shots tonight, so I'm going to give out
I'm just going to make a point. Yes, I will. You made a point about solidarity earlier on. You tell me what solidarity I've afforded from this crowd this evening. I have had 2 insults now, one from Pops, and one from this gent. Hold on, you spoke. What's your name? Sorry. Tops. Excuse me, Tops, not Pops. Sounds quite similar. Hang on. You insulted me first, didn't you? So don't do it in the first place and you won't get it back. I had another insult from this gentleman here. I have heard people compare the Conservative Party to Al-Qaeda. I have heard people say that Rishi Sunak is scared of black people and is a fascist. And do you know what was the straw that broke the camel's back? Was that when this man over here, this gentleman, someone over here said every action that Rishi Sunak took during the pandemic was a bad one. When he was paying furlough at a more generous rate than any other country in the world, yes, there were things that were done that were wrong. I'm not saying the PPE crisis wasn't wrong. I'm not saying there wasn't money going to the wrong places. But to say every action that Rishi Sunak took during the pandemic was wrong is just factually incorrect. How many people in here had furlough paid for because of Rishi Sunak's policy? How many of you? Yes, the self-employment furlough came too late, but it still came. So you talk about solidarity, sir, and I want solidarity too, but I'm not going to be insulted by two people in this crowd. I'm not going to have people say that the Conservative Party is equivalent to Al-Qaeda, and I'm not going to have people, I don't care if it's a joke, I've not made jokes like that, and I'm not going to have people call the Prime Minister a fascist, because it's not funny. No. Al-Qaeda killed people. It is not
Okay. Please, keep us. Sorry, I'm a professional satirist. I tell expensive jokes every day. But I know they could land me in prison too. It's a risk I take. Speaking of potentially getting in trouble for expensive jokes, I'm just going to hand over, for no reason whatsoever, to Maria. Sorry, just.
I just want to bring this back to Rishi Sunak really quickly, and I want to say two things really quickly. I think whatever Rishi Sunak has done is done. I think the saddest thing about his demise is that he will never know that he was used, misused, and abused for the system, and he will go down as the face that ended the Conservative Party, although it was not really all him. And that's how he's been used, and he will never understand that. He will never understand that it wasn't him, and he was so badly used by the system.
He was happy to be used.
I need to keep it really cute because I've got a pending charge, and I'm going to court next week, so I don't want to say what I want to say. And I want to say two things. Sangeeta, you started off by saying you may have been sacked, but you're not broken. I want to say that I also am sacked, but not broken. And when I reflect on my situation, having lost my job, having been vilified in the media, having been run out of my home, having had to pull my son out of school, all of this means that I'm now free to say and do what I really want to say and do. I've never felt this kind of freedom before, and I hope you embrace the freedom that is coming your way now. And I think that taking on board everything everyone has said tonight, I think the legacy of Rishi Sunak is on my placard.
Sorry, one second, there's been some hands up over here for a long time. They'll come to my brother over here. So, then Tops, then Busayo. Okay? And we've got to keep it succinct, guys. We're literally running out.
Thank you. Points of bluntness. 2 points. I'll stand. First of all, when it comes to the Conservatives and the right wing and white supremacist patriarchy, you have to realise that the right and everything that stands for the right is literally about violence when it comes down to the end of the day. It's about white supremacist patriarchy, and it's about the oppression of black and brown people and marginalised people. And when you sit there standing for the voice of the right, it means that you're going to get people in here that are just not going to be about that, and people are just going to be on you. So that's something that you need to eat it, and eat it when I swallow.
You be polite.
Yeah, I'm being polite, but you need to swallow. Please swallow it, because if that's the side that you're going to be on, swallow what's going to come for you, and that's that. Here's the thing with manners and fairness, because someone over here said about plurality and fairness and balance. Where's the balance for black women who are dying 4 times more likely than their white counterparts during childbirth? Where's the fairness and balance for the brown women are dying 3 times more likely than their white counterparts as well? There are black children that have a school to prison pipeline, so where's the fairness and balance? So when people come up here and talk about, we need to be polite, we need to, don't come for me. If you're going to align yourself with white supremacist patriarchy on the right, or even on the left, you need to swallow
which right
whatever
winger is in
comes.
favour of black mothers dying more than white mothers?
You've spoken already, and it's my turn to speak.
Who is?
I've got the mic.
Who is?
I've got the mic.
Who is?
I've got the mic.
Oh, that's right.
I've said what I said.
Use the mic. Use the mic.
Now, I'll move on to Rishi Sunak. Now, Rishi Sunak is very much, like Johnny said, he's very much a warning. You know, as someone that is a member of the Green Party and is the co-chair of the LGBTQAI Greens as well, he's very much a warning for me as someone that wants to be a councillor in a couple of years. And it all boils down to integrity. And if you have councillors, MPs, or people in Parliament that have a serious lack of integrity, they need to be scrutinised and scrutinised and scrutinised. And that's what it all boils down to, integrity. And if there comes to a point in my career, whether it's politically, whether it's in any job or whatever, with friends or family, if my integrity has to be compromised, it's a big out for me, because I'm all about my community and community-focused incentives.
Yeah, I'm going to very quickly, because Dem just said it, what I was going to say, but I think there's this thing about when you're being oppressed, you need to be oppressed quietly, right? Yeah. Or when you feel strongly about an issue that is literally killing us, make noise, but just do it quietly. It's even with the way that they are against the protests. We're protesting a genocide, people are dying. Doesn't matter how we protest, it's the fact that we are protesting. They want us to be oppressed quietly. They want you to be poor. They want you to be unhappy quietly, right? They will never be, just because we may share the same skin, just because we may share the same ethnicity, race, whatever, I don't owe you any solidarity, and I also don't owe you politeness, right? There's this obsession in Britain with being polite, even when the things that you do are negatively impacting my life, right? At the end of, I'm not talking about you. Look, if it fits, then lace that shit up, right? But at the end of the day, you represent a party, right, that has systematically introduced policies that make life harder for every single person, whether you believe it or not, right? The systemic issues that we deal with in this country, and you're right, it's not just the Tory party, it's the establishment, right? And I think a lot of the time we look at this the wrong way. We're like, oh, why will there never be a black Labour MP, or why blah blah blah? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter who's there. The system is what it is. Whether you're black, brown, blue, whatever, the system is what it is. And really, if we're talking about revolution, if we're talking about real change, we need to destroy that shit. That's what we need to do. Because ultimately, the establishment was built to keep people like us oppressed. That is why Rishi Sunak can continue the status quo. So my closing statement is that I don't owe you politeness. Okay? Simple.
Please keep us safe.
I think that actually kind of leads to the point I was making, that it's not by accident that the last Labour Party was well, we had Blairite, the Labour Party, before. We've got 14 years of Conservative rule, and now we've got Keir Starmer, which is basically a Rep Tory. I don't think that's, if we look at it from a historical material analysis, these things are by design. We are controlled, well, our political system is funded by lobbyists. So the way that things are working is literally by design. First past the post system is there to keep moderates and right-wingers in power anyway. So when we look at these things, and we were talking about APAC earlier, and things that we need in our communities in order to help us, we need to look at the fact that neoliberal capitalism will never benefit black people whatsoever. Neoliberal capitalism is contradictory by nature, and so when that system comes crashing down, which it inevitably will because of its contradictions, we should have things in place where we've informed our communities on, first of all, why this is happening, and second of all, what to do when the
which system lifted billions out of poverty.
So, thank you.
Thank you. Can I jump in? Just so because we are very much over, so please.
Yeah, sorry, not to take everyone's time, but what I've learned today is that we are highly irresponsible in how we regurgitate things that we see in the media. I think we're experiencing life, but we're not learning any lessons. I think one of the reasons why black and brown people don't progress in politics or feel like they're represented in a demographic is because we use these distractions, right? We have only a set amount of time to talk about real issues, right? We haven't even gotten to ideas to transform society. We are talking about, obviously rightly so, about the demise of a brown man for whom most of us do not like, but it wasn't for lack of ideas. We don't like him because we assumed he was supposed to do something for us. And this is where we're at. We're at the very infant stage of politics. And so what I've learned is that we're not ready to lead the country. I think any person of brown or black who leads Labour, Conservative, whichever party, will have the same conversation. They didn't do what they were supposed to do. Do you know why? Because when we had the moment to reflect, to acknowledge and to heal, we didn't. So what happens is that we turn against each other and we start saying this anti-blackness and we start saying this Islamophobia, and all these things are real. But when you get the mic, when you get the opportunity to transform, those are the things you look to. Whereas other parties can talk about how they want to transform the NHS, how they want to invest in green energy, and do all the things that affect our health outcomes. But we're too busy talking about things that they've placed on our dinner table to discuss. It's easy. This is why culture wars can be something that allows us to leave the EU, right? This is why people who are running from war-torn countries, right, are subject to light-hearted debates about immigration, even though they are being persecuted, because they know that if you feed us a conversation that turns brown and black people against each other, this is what we do with it. So don't get me wrong, I know it's light-hearted, I know we want to make a point, and I know we like punchlines, which I think is the demise of the left anyway, because I think we do that thing where we want to get claps all the time. But I genuinely believe that we are irresponsible as a demographic. We need to start learning from our experiences and just stop saying that we just experienced this. If you experience racism, you're not the only one. What did you learn from it? What did you do with that information? We are going to be here next year, the year after, saying, oh my God, the Labour Party did this. We know. It's a failure on our part to come here every time surprised that they let us down. Yeah. Right?
Well done. Right, we are now about to be thrown out. Sorry. There's a couple of people who haven't spoken here yet. My brother and wife, my sister, please come forward, come to the circle. You've got to keep it succinct, my sister, please. Yeah.
For anyone still thinking that Labour and Conservatives are different, they're not. They're one and the same. They're one and the same backside. Under Rishi Sunak, they passed the Nationality and Borders Act, and aside from covering all the usuals, fraud, serious fraud, terrorism, all of those things where they can remove your citizenship, they also included, thanks to Priti Patel, they've included the right for the government to revoke your citizenship on the basis of the fact that you've done something that's not conducive to the public good. That is so wide, and it can only be removed from someone who's got one or both parents that have been born abroad, which means most of us. So we need to challenge our politicians. We need to ask them to revoke that act, revoke that specific part of the legislation, and demand equality. They are racist, and we need to challenge that. Thank you.
Please, brother. And then, Sir Halima, I'll give you once really quickly, brother. We've been thrown out.
Yeah, cool, no worries. So just on the picture that we see, nothing very obvious, it's not finished, and I think what goes with Rishi Sunak is what you mentioned about all those who were protesting, that they were useful idiots. And if there was a useful idiot for the government and for the Tory party, it was Rishi Sunak from the conversation that we've heard today. And secondly, when it comes to us, as Nels mentioned, that we're here to kind of dance on his grave, right? If there was a chant that we'll be all dancing to, it would be the chant that's being sung every week, every other week at a protest by hundreds of thousands of people, is that Rishi Sunak is a waste man.
You need my last word.
So I just want to refer to one of my brilliant sisters that talked about left wing, right wing being of the same bird, and that is absolutely correct. Working under Corbyn Starmer for people like us, they do not want to liberate us, and as Malcolm X referred to the wolves and the foxes, the left are the foxes and the right are the wolves. Now, in terms of we're here celebrating the end of Sunak, I'm here to tell you a stark warning about Starmer. Now, he has placed candidates up and down the country in the safest of seats who are individuals that I worked with, and they are the most dangerous individuals that when they make it into Parliament and when they make it in, as government ministers, we are all at risk. And we are at risk because it is the party of mass surveillance. So, another thing, sorry, last point.
I'm so sorry, my sister.
Yeah.
You have to, I'm glad to land your plane there.
All right,
Sorry,
thank
thank you so much. Good to be for that. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody, thank you so much. We will be back in the autumn, or maybe August if we have something to do. Thank you so much. Take care. Bless you all.